We have nothing to fear but fear itself. Apart from pain, maybe humiliation and obviously death, and failure. But apart from fear, pain and humiliation, failure and the unknown and death, we have nothing to fear but fear itself. That's a quote from Arnold Rimmer. My name is Gadget. Ladies, gentlemen, and variations thereupon, welcome to Modern Escapism. Welcome everybody to Modern Escapism. As you heard before, my name is Gadget, and I am joined on this week's episode with the hoopiest food I know. It's Stig.
Hello.
He's definitely the droids you're looking for. It's Doomican.
Hello.
And lastly, we have the crewman with the red shirt who will definitely die first. It's Oodles.
Hello.
Okay, so last week, Doomican took us on a journey through the culinary world. We heard about his favourite foods, his trips to Sicily, and we even heard about Gila's fridge.
The fridge, oh my God.
Shudders.
Yeah. So when we go back in time, I believe it's Doomican that actually has that for us. What have the people been saying on our food episode, Doomican?
Well, quite a few here. We have nflem at n_flem. Great work, chaps. Very enjoyable. Even witnessed at Nix_May laughing out loud at the back failure in the kitchen whilst making hollandaise. But as we drove home listening.
Oh, my poor mate.
Louise Slinovsky at Louise Slinovsky had me laughing out loud and also smiling lots at my own fond memories of my nan's braising steak, gravy and chips, preferably on thick white bread with best butter that melted and ran down your arm. The best. What was in that fridge, though?
What was in the fridge? What was in the fridge?
Nobody. You were the witness to the event.
Nobody. I didn't see it.
It's blacked out his memory.
Yes.
No. Nobody's ever supposed to find out what's in that fridge.
I were envisioning, listening to that episode, I were envisioning, do you know the colour from space, the Lovecraft? Yeah. I was like envisioning like a magenta light coming out of the fridge.
Oh, it's so bad. The Real Rider at Rider_555. Another excellent addition, fellas. I actually saw Jeeba's fridge sprout its own legs and scurry off into the distance the other week. It still lives.
Kill it with fire.
John Cheetham at John Cheetham1. The discussion on adventurous food reminded me of the time I ate chicken sashimi in Japan. Something I vowed never to do because of how risky chicken is generally. We were with an Osaka local, though, and assured it was perfectly clean and everything, and it was actually delicious.
Lovely.
I love trying
raw chicken.
Yeah, so I was just gonna say I love trying new foods. Been recommended by somewhere from another place, like where you've been, and them saying try this, and you're like, oh, I don't really like that. And you know, I had a very similar thing with my friend when I went to visit him in Beirut, and we tried Lebanese food, and that was amazing. And the sushi from his restaurant, I was adamant I didn't like fish, didn't like sushi, and he's like, just try this. If you don't like it, we'll get something else. And now I absolutely love it. So yeah. I can.
I'm a bit like I'm a bit like that, but with crisps. I like to try new crisps.
I feel like something like chicken sashimi. I think I might likely only try if I was in Japan. A bit like that blowfish. John Cheetham. He also added, and on Mission Impossible. I actually think they have got better as the series has gone on. The last 2 or 3 are top-tier movies. If you want to see a secret agent run around shooting people and generally being highly conspicuous. Also, a really enjoyable pod again.
Well, Tom Cruise is actually the best runner in Hollywood. He has got a really good sprint.
He runs everywhere.
He's got a good sprint. You've seen him in War of the Worlds, in the remake. He has got but that beginning bit, he's a good sprinter in the beginning bit. He outruns the Martians.
But the point John Cheatham's making there is kind of exactly the point I'm making about Bond films. Like, I really enjoyed the first Mission Impossible film because it was a spy film.
Yeah.
Not a blow the shit out of everything kind of film,
Bonds
which is the problem I have with Bond films.
They tend to change genres quite often. Yeah, it can be quite jarring when you've got a casino thriller 1 minute, and then next you've got some kind of weird global conglomerate espionage thing. It's very weird on the next film. Do you know what I mean?
Kurt Lewin at angry_Kurt. He tweeted us a GIF of Indiana Jones getting inside the fridge from Indiana Jones 4 and says, Indy wouldn't be doing this with Jeeba's fridge, even with a nuclear bomb about to go off.
Maybe that was that fridge.
He also did apologise for reminding us that film exists.
And rightfully so.
I've seen it once.
Is that the fan-made one?
That's the Crystal Skulls. The Crystal Skulls.
Yeah, the fan-made one, yeah?
Ooh, bit of a joke there.
And that is it for the Back in Time section this week.
Oh, marvellous. Well, thank you for everyone who listened last week and got back in touch with us. We really do appreciate it when you do this. So, by all means, send us your tweets, send us your emails, shout at us, whatever you fancy. We're now going to move on to the Nexus, where we get to talk about what we've done to escape the modern world this week. So, we're going to go straight down. I'm going to pick someone at random. Stiggy, what you been up to?
I would nearly struggled for this, to be honest, coming up this week. I'd watched a couple of films, didn't think they were worth talking about. Been playing a couple of games that I'd rather talk about once I've getting close to the finish of them or finish them before I delve into them. And then last night I decided to watch The Sweet Smell of Success, a 1957 Hollywood noir drama.
Good film.
Really good film, but it kind of got me wanting to watch a bit more of those old Hollywood classics. So I decided to stick on 12 Angry Men.
Ooh,
classic.
Yes, good film.
Yeah, so for those who haven't seen 12 Angry Men, let me start by saying you should watch 12 Angry Men.
Yes.
But the premise basically is 12 men on a jury who have to deliberate a murder of an 18-year-old boy who has been accused of murdering his father. So they are sent into this room to discuss this, and all but one of them votes guilty. One man votes not guilty, not because he doesn't think that the boy is guilty or not guilty, but because he has a shadow of doubt. And in his mind, he thinks, if there's any doubt in my mind, I need to make sure that this boy is guilty or not guilty before I sentence him to death. So the film basically kind of starts in the courtroom. They get sent into the back, and there's some of the men in there are basically they don't even want to be there, so they just vote guilty. It's like, yeah, it's guilty. Come on, let's get on with it. I need to get to the baseball game. They're not even bothered that they're going to sentence a young boy to death. And this man then, juror number 8, he then has to convince the others as to why he thinks there's doubt. And throughout the film, they kind of start to go over, well, what did this person say? What did that person say? That doesn't make sense. And it slowly but surely starts to turn people to his way of thinking, that it isn't just a open and shut case. There's a lot of things in there that don't make sense, and they should talk over and discuss before making a decision. The problem that he has, though, is that he comes against men who their guilty verdict is based purely on prejudice due to racism, classism, ageism, and there's others there with other deep-seated issues which play out through the film and kind of come to the forefront as the film goes along. But it's just a real masterclass of acting and directing. It's the man who directed this, Sidney Lumet. It's his first feature film, and if you'd have told me that it was his first film, I would never have believed you. Because
cinematography is incredible. Yeah,
to knock it out the park like that as your first film is just incredible. He uses all these close-up shots of the men. They're sat in this room. It's really claustrophobic. There's a comment made about how the fan doesn't work, and bit by bit they all they start to become sweatier and hotter. And
taking the ties off.
Taking the ties and the cloak and the coats and everything off.
Yeah.
And just really getting, like, the atmosphere, it's
palpable, isn't it?
You can visibly see it breaking the men down.
It's like a masterclass in tension as well, because the way the conversations kind of move back and forth and their tempers start to fray as the film goes on.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful. I didn't realize it was his first film, because
no, I didn't.
Beyond the cinematography and all that, like, the character direction in it is incredible.
Yeah,
because he's got literally 12 cast members that all have to ratchet up this tension as the dialogue goes on. And it must have been a hell of a job to manage.
Yeah, and they're all like different ages and different backgrounds. You can see that, like, the way, there's I believe he's French, one of the gentlemen in there as well.
Yeah.
So there's like, and one of the men is he comes from a kind of background that the accused comes from. So there's a bit of prejudice there on him from some of the other men around the table.
Yeah.
That accuse him, like, you're just doing this because you're one of them. Like, one of the men literally he refers to the accused as them. They are this. He almost brings them down to animal level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great rhetoric on the American justice system as well. Like,
yes,
the corrupt side of it, and still to this day, there is prejudice, unfortunately.
It kind of shows the flaws in the system a lot that I think are probably still there. That people are put on this jury, and they're kind of chosen because of their backgrounds, and the prosecutors will pick them based on the fact that, we know we can get this guy to side with us, just based purely on the kind of person this person is.
Let's get some middle class American men in, white men.
Yeah.
And let's see how that goes. Yeah,
I mean,
ridiculous.
the whole thing is it's just brimming with toxic masculinity throughout the whole. Yeah. Like, some of the men in there are just, they'll one of them literally starts to call them old women and referring to them as pansies and your bleeding hearts and things like that, just because they actually are starting to feel something for this accused boy.
Yeah.
But one of my favourite things about it is how you don't see any of the court case.
No.
We see. When I first watched this, I remember not seeing the accused, not seeing the boy, but you do actually see him. You see a glimpse of him just before they go into the back room. But you don't, as an audience member, you have to make your mind up based on what they discuss in that room.
Yeah, you don't get his character third person view.
No, yeah,
type
you
thing.
don't get to see him. You don't get to see what it was like in court. You don't get to see any of the court cases or anything.
Yeah.
You have to decide by the end of that film: are you with these men on what verdict they've come up with, or are you against it? Because they put up some good arguments, but they put up some flawed arguments. There's no getting around.
Things stronger.
Yes,
it makes the drama that you're seeing much stronger as a result, because you don't have any preconception of the court case itself. You're literally seeing it through the lens of these men and their own arguments.
Yeah, basically.
And
there's been a few. Sorry, carry on.
It sounds weird to say, but it's still like one of my favorite courtroom dramas that you never see the court.
Yeah, but it isn't in a court.
Like, when most people say, like, I've watched they like courtroom drama films, they'll think of A Few Good Men and stuff like that. Or,
yeah. There's been a few remakes of 12 Angry Men that have been more involved with the inner court case, and they've ruined, like, the essence of that original.
Yeah.
Like, there's been a few with different names as well, but it's the same thing. It's like they set a precedent for this courtroom drama, the dramatization of a courtroom. But I think the original's still top tier. It holds its head high, to be honest.
Yeah, the original seems to work better for me, just in terms of the ability to tell that story. It's even when, like, you look into, like, kind of like legal TV shows and you get all this drama in the court, but you never see the actual jury deliberation thing. And I think that's more interesting than
they're just bit characters, aren't they? Just
prosecutor
background
versus the defense.
Yeah, I think there's no getting around the fact that the man who, during number 8, who comes up with this no guilty to start with, the way he starts to question things, and there's a lot of things in there. Well, this could have happened, and it's like, well, it could have or it couldn't have, and that's what I really like about the fact that you have to make your mind up. Is his argument enough for you as an audience member to side with that side, or are you on the guilty side based purely on the facts, like that have been not the facts that have been presented in court that you hear about as you go along? So yeah, I just think it's absolutely brilliant. I think it's like 90 minutes long, so it's not a long film. It's definitely.
I haven't seen this film. What can I watch it on? Is it on any streaming service or
It isn't.
Sky?
No, I just I've got a copy of it, so
It's about £1 in any DVD.
But yeah,
it's not an expensive film.
I'm pretty sure it'll be on a Amazon or somewhere like that. Anywhere you could kind of rent a digital copy of something, you might be able to get a copy of it. But
I think there is a Blu-ray floating about. I think there
What's the
is.
point of a Blu-ray of a film that old?
I've always said the same thing, but they still do it.
But you say that, but some black and white films look like they were filmed today.
They do.
It's because of the type of filming. Like I think within that court case, it's fine. When you start to go outside, like it was the same with The Sweet Smell of Success. When you start to go outside, you see the issues. But like in these closed sets and small areas, like the filming is like it's crystal clear in some of these old films. Interesting fact as well. On 12 Angry Men, and you can hear it in his voice. One of them's got this really soft-spoken, almost childlike voice. Turns out that the guy voices Piglet.
Oh.
And you can tell when I found out that it was Piglet, it's like, yeah, all I can hear now is Piglet.
Well, if Piglet's registered to vote, he probably will have to do jury duty at some point.
Yeah, that's what I watched this week. I thought it was worth talking about.
Very highbrow.
It's probably up there with one of my favourite films, and I'd watched that other film and just thought, like, feel like watching this. I mean, they both came out.
I watched
it
at school.
Yeah?
I watched it in school. 12 Angry Men. I don't know why. I think it were a sociology thing type.
Oh, we did. In English, they used to do that. We did of Mice and Men.
Yeah.
So
I probably talk about that.
I did 12 Angry Men in media studies for my A-levels.
Yeah. It's a brilliant film for media studies. So that's me this week.
Marvellous, Stiggy. Doomy, what have you been up to? Been cooking up a storm?
I see what you did there.
That was last week, Gadget.
Oh.
Do you only cook 1 week of the year, do you?
Yeah, batch cook.
This is cooking
Massive
part
batch.
2.
Meal prep for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I have been playing a game. I finished a game that's taken me 3 weeks because it was in 3 episodes. It was Tell Me Why.
You don't like Mondays?
I just want to bet with myself. I knew one of you was going to say that.
I need to give him a red card for that.
Help myself. Anytime I've heard someone talk about that game on any other podcast, it's just like they'll say, "And I've been playing Tell Me Why," and in the back of my head I go, "And I don't like Mondays." Sorry, I'll shut up now.
Is that song even in the game?
It is not. No.
Oh, that's disappointing.
But so Tell Me Why. This is the latest game from Don't Nod.
The vampire makers.
The makers of the
Vampire.
Life is Strange series and Vampire, yeah. And it tells the story of 2 twins, Alison and Tyler, who were reunited after spending the last 10 years apart due to an event which took place in their childhood. The game is about them coming to terms with what has happened and unraveling the truth around the events which ultimately led to them being separated in the first place. So, have any of you ever played any of Don't Nod's games before?
Yes.
No.
Yes, I really like Life is Strange 1 and 2. I know Oodles doesn't, but
I really like Vampire.
Vampire, yeah, so the opposite.
I have completely no experience with these, but I have played Telltale's games, which are...
Yeah,
I don't think they're as clunky as Telltale games. Not as clunky.
It's a narrative game where you're given sort of dialogue options to select, and your choices that you make and which options you select affect how the story unfolds, and in this game, the strength of your bonds between the 2 characters. And it's with the Life is Strange games, each has got its own sort of unique mechanic in the game, like turning back time and making a different decision once you've seen one play out in Life is Strange 1. In this game, the the mechanic is like Alison and Tyler, twins. They've got like a supernatural power where it's sort of like telekinesis, so they can hear each other's thoughts and communicate that way. Yeah, that's the one. Telepathy. And one of the other sort of mechanics in the game is they can see memories. So at certain points, a memory will trigger, and you hold down the right trigger, and you will sort of see that memory play out in front of you. So it'll go back to them being kids, and it'll sort of act out an event that took place. And this will sort of work into the puzzles that you get in the game. So early on, you need to find the key to the house, your childhood home, and you know that it's hidden under one of these statues, but you can't remember which one. And then a memory triggers, and you activate it, and you see the kids playing and run into this statue where the key is, and then you just follow the kids.
I mean, in real life, I just check every statue.
There's only 3, so why wouldn't you?
I was just thinking.
I would need to trigger my memories.
It would take no time at all.
Is this one of these things where the kids have the power, but there's no real ever use for it, so they're just showing off at this point?
Yeah, that's it. We don't have to remember anything.
I'll use the power. We're using the power. It doesn't matter that there's only 3 statues. We're using the power.
Yes, it's time for power.
Yeah, so it's quite hard to discuss the story of the game without giving away any spoilers. Each sort of
I would please avoid spoilers, because I actually do want to play this.
Yeah,
I just haven't got round to it
obviously,
yet.
Each episode has got its own little cliffhangers and whatnot to keep you. The pacing of it is pretty slow. There's a lot in there, I think, that they could have got rid of. Possibly made
it could have been less
2 episodes.
Yeah, less episodes, yeah.
And a more tighter story. It pulls together the last third of the last episode. It was really, really good. I really enjoyed that part.
That's what you want, though, isn't it? You want that conclusion to be like...
The ending was really good. One of the issues I had with this game is some of the dialogue choices that you make. I feel like no matter what option you select, in some situations, it would lead you to the same sort of response from the other character. Yeah, do you know what I mean? And
isn't this a general problem with a lot of these games, though? Because I remember when I played through The Walking Dead, which, again, is not it's Telltale, but... the story has to go in the same general path, and the choices that you
sometimes
make only
not,
affect
though.
Very minor things.
Sometimes not. I remember playing, and don't judge me, I played the Telltale Game of Thrones, and it's got like 3 wildly different endings.
Yeah, I did the Game of Thrones one, and there's moments in that where characters just get killed, and you're like, oh,
yeah, you will lose.
They do it just like that. Yeah, it's just like the show. You just kind of, oh shit, I wasn't expecting that person to just get killed so quick. But you find out that they didn't have to get killed.
Yeah, exactly. They could have survived the game with you.
Yeah.
One of the other issues I had with it, it's a similar issue, really. When I was talking about how you can trigger memories and watch them play out. So Tyler and Alison, the twins, will have a memory of an event, but the memories of it are both slightly different. So you'll watch Alison's memory of it play out, and then you'll watch Tyler's memory of the same incident play out and how he remembered it. And then you have to select which one you want to believe.
So it's like the unreliable narrator.
Yeah,
isn't it?
You basically just pick, but you're not basing it on anything other than who you want to believe. Yeah, basically.
Would you like best?
So does that have a narrative payoff? Like if you say take more of Alison's memories than Tyler's memories, does that have an effect on the end of it?
It can have an effect on the bond between the characters.
Right.
So if you believe
there is kind of a point to it, but it's
kind of, but it felt like
half-baked.
Yeah.
Ultimately,
really,
you're just choosing who's got the best beanie on.
I didn't feel like it worked really that well.
Okay.
Have you played Life is Strange 2?
No, I haven't. I only played the first episode of Life is Strange, and then I stopped because I thought it was awful.
Yeah,
yes.
Because Life is Strange 2 is it does very similar things where you if you do certain things, then your younger brother reacts to you slightly differently. If he sees you doing things like, oh, we're hungry, so I'm going to steal this bit of food, he then starts to think that it's okay to steal, and that actually has ramifications later in the game when you find out that he's stolen stuff from people that you meant to have trusted, and it all plays out. And I think, yes, it all kind of leads you to this one point near the end, but I think there's about 6 different endings, and it all depends on how you act as the older brother around the younger one. And I turns out I got the bad ending. I seem to keep getting bad endings in games.
You're a baddie.
Yeah. No, I don't think I was doing anything that wrong. I was just trying to, I wasn't mean to anyone or anything. I just kind of did what I thought needed to be done.
You don't have to be mean to be a baddie. Just
no, I was trying to survive. I wasn't like, I think. But yeah, I think it worked really well in that. But it sounds as though it doesn't really have much of a payoff in this.
How much did it cost you, Doomy?
It cost me the price of a Game Pass subscription.
Oh, that's not bad then.
It is not. No,
yeah,
I don't
cool.
think I would have. I don't think I'd have played it if it wasn't on Game Pass.
No,
just because I don't think I had that much interest.
But it's worth a punt for anyone, isn't it? At that price.
Yeah, it's definitely. If you like the Life is Strange games, it's definitely worth playing.
It's technically a pound if you use the trial, isn't it?
Yeah, and I have heard people say on other podcasts that it's the best one.
There's other podcasts,
apparently.
See, I've just heard different. It's, from what I've heard, from what you've said, and what other podcasts have said, and things I've read, that I really like Life is Strange 1 and 2, but I just don't have the enthusiasm for this. I started it and I actually fell asleep playing it.
Wow,
because it's slow. It's so slow paced. Like there was this cutscene, and I drifted off.
Maybe you're not ready for it. Your mind's not in that frame of mind yet.
Yeah, it could be.
Sometimes that happens.
It seems to be like it's the most inconsistently reviewed of the Don't Nod games, because I haven't played any of them, but I know Life is Strange 1 was universally loved. Life is Strange 2 was not as good, people thought.
And Vampire was robbed.
Vampire was robbed because the ending was like knackered due to time constraints.
Yes.
But yeah, this one just seems to be people either really, really like it, really dislike it, or indifferent.
Yeah, but that's fine. It's allowed. You know what I mean?
Overall, I enjoyed it, but I felt like it should have been a lot shorter and a bit more tight and compact overall. But it came together nicely at the end. And like I say, it's on Games Pass, so if you've got that and you're into that game, I mean, it's the only way you're going to play it, really, because it isn't on it's exclusive to Xbox and PC.
Is it?
So yeah.
Yeah, Don't Nod were one of those studios that Microsoft bought out.
Fair play.
So yeah, give it a go if you're into those games. If not, maybe try the first episode if you've got Game Pass. See how you get on with it. So yeah, that's what I've been playing this week.
How many Don't Nods out of 10 would you rate it?
I'd give it 6.
6 Don't Nods. Oof.
Yeah, just above average.
Just above average. All right. Well, that kind of colours it for me, because I was probably going to start that next week. Cheers for that, Doomy. Okay, well, let's kick it over to Oodles. Oodles, what have you been up to?
I've been on a mental and spiritual journey since last time we got together and spoke. I don't smoke anymore.
Hey!
Which has been a weird transition in my life, because I've got a lot more spare time. Which, if you've ever quit anything, a habit, you realise that, yeah, you save about 2 hours a day, and you're like, oh, shit, I've got 2 hours. What am I going to do with these 2 hours? So what I have been doing is basically going through my Switch. So I've got a Switch Lite, and obviously all my Switch is handheld. So I've been playing a bit of Mario All-Stars, but I don't need to discuss that because we all know what Mario All-Stars is. I completed Super Mario 2, which controversially is my second favourite Mario of all time, which is, yeah,
it's not even a proper Mario.
I love Super Mario 2. I know it's not a proper Mario. I know it's a reskin, but love it.
That game confused the hell out of me when I was a kid, though, because it
did me.
We didn't have the internet around to look up why Mario game suddenly looked and played completely different.
Why is he picking up parsnips?
Like, what is this game? Like, is this a Mario game? And yeah, it was just because they
not
reskinned another game with Mario characters.
Doki Doki Panic, I think.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think it's really good, and a lot of the lore from Mario has come from Super Mario 2. So you know what I mean?
It's better than the Lost Levels.
It's a lot better than the Lost Levels. But yeah, I've been playing a bit of that, and I've been playing a little game that I don't want to go too much into, but I've been praising it since I started playing it, but a little game called Hades. Now, this game has absolutely captivated me.
Listeners, he has not shut up about it in our private chat.
Yeah.
The man needs to be stopped.
Go. I love Greek mythology. It's absolute catnip to me. I'm just well into it. Basically, if you're not familiar with Hades, you should be. But basically, it's a roguelike, which means every session on that game is basically what gamers call a run. Now, to explain what a run is, it's you getting as far away from the start as possible. There are hurdles in the way, fighting monsters, picking up certain items, avoiding traps, but you're getting as far as you can into the game without continues and things like that. You just go as far as you can. This game has turned that on its head. So with roguelikes, you die, you've lost everything. I mean, we've all been there, haven't we? You've got so far in a game, you've lost everything. You feel like throwing the controller, or in my case, the console out of the window. This game turns it on its head. Every death, every time you die, I'm not going to spoil the story, but every time you die, it means something. And I don't mean it means something in like a Dark Souls sense where, it's a learning experience. No, every death on this literally means something for the story. Like, which one? How many of you are playing it at the moment?
No,
I am.
I've got it ready to go, but I'm playing something else first.
I own it as well. Thanks to you.
Yeah,
good. So Gadget understands that when you die, it's probably one of the only games ever where you go, oh God, I've died. Do you know what I mean?
The way the story's presented is like every time you die, you get thrown back to the kind of the hub area, and you get more dialogue from the main characters, and then you start another run, you die, you come back, and you get a bit more of the story, and it kind of every time you die, it pushes the story on a little bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've put in about 8 hours into it so far, and I've got the feeling that this is a pretty bloody big story. Like, there's a lot going on.
It's an average 40 hours.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, wow. That's what I go on howlongtobeat.com a lot, and it says completion is 40 hours. I think main story is like 25 hours. So you know what I'm like. I'm going to do the whole thing.
Of course, naturally.
So it's going to take a while. But it's just absolutely captured me. And mainly, it could have been any mythology. It could have been a made-up sci-fi. But the character art and the actual aesthetic of the world is incredible.
It's a beautiful game.
I mean, Supergiant, the guys who developed it, they're known for making beautiful games. But this is like the pinnacle of like isometric games to me. I mean, I thought Diablo 3 was the best of that kind of angle, but I think this is, for me, it's just absolutely enraptured me. Everything about it. The combat's fluid. The character, Zagreus, the main character, I love him. Got a bit of a man crush on him. And it's just, the whole thing is just incredible. Like, basically, you have to make relationships with gods and deities, and as you're exploring the dungeons and trying to escape Hades, hell, you get gifts to gift to people, and then you're getting more lore. You're always getting some kind of reward just for progressing, or in this case, not progressing. It's just, I honestly, this is like getting very close to my game of the year this year. So, I mean, heads up, it's going to take a lot to beat this, and I will fight tooth and nail for this game.
How does it work then when you say when you die and it adds to the story and you start again? I'll assume with the same character.
Yeah.
You start the run again. Do you retain any items or abilities from your previous run?
You're always progressing. You're always there's certain currencies and experience potions and all sorts of things that you find along the way. You don't lose. I don't know what you do lose apart from progress. You don't lose anything, do you?
No, you lose the gifts to the gods. So as you work through rooms, as Oodles said, the gods up on Mount Olympus present you boons and gifts. So
as gods will,
one might be your main attack also chucks lightning if Zeus is taken favour to you, or Poseidon's ones push enemies out the way, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
You lose all that stuff, but as you go through, you pick up keys which let you unlock things, naturally speaking.
Yes.
Currency to improve your home.
Your hub.
Because you have a home with a bedroom because you're an angsty teenager. Naturally. And the general currency or the gifts that you can give to other NPCs, which then improve your relationship, and they can give you like like run-changing items and stuff like that.
Yeah, it makes the game easier that the more you befriend people, and I don't usually like relationship type things in games, but the narration, and because there is a narrator as well, but the weird thing is Zagreus, the main character, knows the narrator is narrating, which is just hilarious.
That's one of my favorite features of the game, when the narrator pops up and Zagreus just goes, "Will you keep it down, old man?"
Yeah, because he says stuff like, I can hear you, old man, with his weird like quasi-British Australian accent. It's such a good accent as well. But it's just so... I like pure gameplay in my games. I don't... You know what I'm like. I will rush through a game. I'll finish a 60-hour game in a weekend. But this has made me appreciate the story and the lore and things like that. It is a pure action game. It really is. It's not turn-based or anything like that. It's just pure action. If you press the wrong button, you're fucked. You're fucked. It's that simple. And it's fast. If you've ever played something like, let's say, Diablo, I know I keep going to Diablo, but it reminds me of that, but less RPG.
Yeah, no, I get that.
And like you're constantly mashing whichever your favourite button is. Like it's usually X and Y, and you've got your special. You can summon god powers sometimes as well. It's just and the bosses. So the bosses don't change. So you're on a run. Let's say there's 10 levels. Every run you're going up a level. And you will always meet a boss, and it's always the same boss if you die and come back. But that boss will discuss the fact that they killed you last time, or you've got a new weapon this time. Do you know what I mean? It's never boring. It's so good. It's just so good.
I really want to know how thick the script is for this game.
Apparently, it's huge because I was on Reddit about it and non-spoilers and stuff like that. And apparently, someone that's already somehow, because it's been out a few years on early access, but they've pumped 100 hours into it, and they've still not got repeated dialogue yet, which is just incredible because it's all voice acted. It's an absolute masterclass, and it's a swan song for this generation, in my opinion. It really is incredible. So I absolutely recommend you all to pick it up because it's only about 15 quid, I think. It's available on Switch and PC at the moment.
Yeah, it's 22 on Switch.
It screams Game Pass to me, though. It really does scream Game Pass. It could probably come out on that. So that's me. Apart from my adventures trying to get out of Tartarus and quit smoking, what have you been up to, Gadget?
So I've been playing Hades, as we've discussed. I won't go into that because you've said enough on that one. Mm-hmm. I finished Paradise Killer, which I talked about last week. I'm not going to really talk too much about it because that then gets into spoiler territory, but I will say, oh my fucking god, it's good. Fucking play that game.
So many good games out. So many.
Oh, yeah, I was saying in the Discord before, like, 2020 started off. Like, we'll take away all the real world shit that's happening. We're not talking about that. We're talking about games here.
Yeah.
2020 started off really shit. There was fuck all. There was nothing happening for months. And then kind of the summer hit, maybe around about the time Paper Mario came out, it's just been banger after banger after banger all the way through the end of the year.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy that I managed to play through and finish Paradise Killer. I actually I didn't even mainline it as well. Normally with games like that, I will try and mainline it, but I took the time and I investigated everything, and I am entirely satisfied with the ending I got.
I'm about 6 hours in, I'd say.
I put about 17 hours I put in total, but like I say, I was being thorough. Very detailed on it.
I've got both of these games. Which should I play first? Hades or Paradise Killer?
No, I would say play Paradise Killer first.
Yeah, it's quicker.
Because with it being a whodunit, there's no replay value to it. Like once you know who's done it,
get it done.
Yeah. You know who done it. Yeah. So get that, rattle through that one, then play Hades. Because Hades, you'll spend a lot more time.
Hades will carry you through to next year, mate. It's so good.
So beyond that, I was in kind of the same situation as Stig was. I didn't really have anything to talk about because it's been like a really crazy week with work and stuff like that, so I haven't had much time to sit and watch anything or read anything. But I will point out that Tuesday I managed to go through the hell that was ordering of Xbox Series X.
Oh,
Yeah, me too.
And I kind of then just wanted to talk about the awfulness that has been this pre-order season for the new consoles.
Hashtag clusterfuck.
Clusterfuck, yeah. That has been my word for it because it has been fucking awful. So, for anyone who's not into gaming, the new series of consoles comes out in November. The Xbox Series X and S come out on the 10th of November. And the PlayStation 5 is the 19th?
We get it on the
following
19th.
week.
Yeah, it's 2 days later, isn't it?
Something like that.
No, something like that. It's the following week.
Everything's happening in November. My birthday and the consoles. Listen.
Yeah, big news. Parades everywhere. But yeah, so the console manufacturers started their pre-orders over the last 2 weeks. Now, Sony fucked it up because they came out and said for a very long time, oh, you'll have plenty of time to pre-order. There won't be queues. Everything will be marvelous. You'll have a cup of tea. It'll be wonderful. And they did the showcase that we did the talks over for. And then literally like 4 hours later, oh, pre-orders are open, by the way. And the entire internet rushed towards it.
And plus, a lot of that showcase was wrong.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a phalanx of nerds running at the internet. And unsurprisingly enough, everything sold out in about 15 minutes.
Yep.
Websites went down, yada, yada, yada. Xbox had already said that the following Tuesday to that, so the 22nd of September, was going to be the day that the Xbox pre-orders went live. And everyone went, okay, they announced it like 3 weeks early that it was coming
it's good
out.
Prep.
That the pre-orders were going to start on this day. You'd think they'd have sorted their shit out. Nah, not a chance. I was going to try and order an Xbox through the Xbox All Access thing, which lets you basically pay monthly for it, a bit like a mobile phone contract.
It makes sense to me. It's how I'd get it.
It's a pretty good deal. But you don't have to pay any money down up front. And I thought, it's getting close to Christmas. The car's got an MOT due soon. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So I figured I'd do that. So there's 2 shops in the UK that do that, which is Game and Smith's Toys. So I was sat on the Game website at 8 o'clock in the morning, as they said, because the pre-orders will go live. Nothing was happening.
Uh-oh.
And, okay. And so I kept refreshing. About 8:15, it then popped up with like the stock on it. So I went, aha, click on Xbox All Access. It then put me into an hour-long queue. So I kind of sat there thinking, I'm not going to get an Xbox here. And the thing, well, I actually started work. Like, I just kept flicking between my laptop and my PC, just checking my place in the queue. So I start to work, and I go through this, and the line goes all the way along, and then it gets me to the end. It says, pre-order your Xbox. Great!
Yay!
I've got one. So I went through, I clicked on Xbox All Access, I clicked on the Xbox Series
And you
X,
got one?
And no!
Oh. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Because then it came up, an error has occurred. And
shit!
Because the way and it was like, well, what do I do then? Do I refresh? No, because I refresh, I lose my place in the queue. And so, but I then refreshed, and then the entire game website was down, and you just had this like animation of cogs turning, saying the website has been taken down for maintenance. It was just like, oh my fucking god, what is going on here?
So digital queues are just as bad as real queues.
Yeah, the only difference is you don't get COVID from them.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So the that was a mess, and it basically all the websites that were handling it went down. Smith's Toys broke instantly.
I've never been to Smith's. What is it?
It's just a toy shop.
Toys R Us.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
right. Right, okay.
Toys R Us.
So yeah, everything just broke. Amazon sold out in like 25 minutes.
As Amazon does.
Throughout the rest of the morning, things like stock came in drips and drabs. I ended up getting one from, of all places, Very, which I thought was a clothes shop.
It is, isn't it? It's a little catalogue for like knickers.
Yeah. Yeah.
It used to be
they had
like Littlewoods, but then they expanded.
Yeah. So I managed to get one there because literally I was about to give up, and I just refreshed my Twitter, and console deals, which is the account I follow, popped up saying, "Quick, there's stock at Very." So I was, fuck it, tap the button. Hey, look, I can get one, and I have one secured now.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that was fucking awful. And like, I was watching Twitter, and I will tell you what, and I know you got a bit annoyed with this as well, Oodles. The amount of people I saw on Twitter going, "Oh, I've ordered 3 of them." It's like, why?
Scalping bastards. I'll call you that now.
And like, yeah, well, eBay then lit up. Hey, guaranteed Xbox Series
$9,000
X for like £900.
Fuck that.
Yeah, that like absolute scummy behavior like that, and I don't understand why shops allow like pre-orders of multiple editions of these things, which they know they're going to be in massive demand.
Mm-hmm.
Because nerds hype.
And you're technically not putting the money forward, are you? Straight away, you're just getting a
No.
ticket to say you will pay it. So weird.
It really reminded me of that scene in Jingle All the Way with the bingo balls.
Yeah, that's great.
You got two.
Yeah.
You got two.
Give me that turbo, man. Now.
Yeah,
It's
I got mine from Amazon. Relatively painless, to be fair.
All right, show off.
There was no building up to it. There was no listing for it, so it was just a case of refreshing from. Was it 8 o'clock they went live?
yeah.
Just keep refreshing until one popped up, and then it was straight in my basket and for the checkout. But I anxiously awaiting that email off them saying, sorry, we've oversold it. You haven't got one this time." But
they've already done that in the US, haven't they? There's been a load of people who pre-ordered Amazon who get emails saying, "We might not be able to get one for you on release day."
Yeah,
Not guaranteed, but we
apparently
might.
Amazon Brazil have like more than 80% of people aren't getting it. It's that bad. So
It was the same with.
and that's where the Amazon is.
Game oversold the PS5. They oversold their pre-orders of that.
I thought,
Wow.
I thought it would be the Series S, which would be the I'd want to get hold of. Maybe that's still the case, but I thought that maybe the X would have been fine, but the Series S, because of how good value it is, people would have been all over that one.
I think because the Xbox All Access is still down, you still can't order one on Xbox All Access.
Wow.
At the time of recording. Because that was down to issues with Klarna, which are the people who actually do the finance for that. I think when that comes back up, I think you'll see a lot more people ordering the S.
I'm gonna get the S. That's the one I'm gonna put money down for. I don't think I'm gonna get the subscription. I think I'm just gonna put the money down if I ever get any money.
I tell you what, though, there's going to be a lot of disappointed children this Christmas, considering sales of the Xbox One X shot up 700%.
Oh, I know. I
saw
saw that.
There's going to be plenty of people. It's just their stupid naming, isn't it? This is a Series X. This is a One X. This is a Series S. It's just like, at least PlayStation is just, it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
You know why this has happened, don't you?
Yeah.
Because they ruined it by calling it the Xbox 360. They can't go lower numbered than that. It should have been the Xbox 2. That's what it should have been, and then we could have continued to go.
But then, you've got the Xbox 2 and then the PS3 at the side of it, and it's like, this
all right,
is 3.
Skip
That's
2.
2.
Just call it the 3.
Yeah, just skip it.
Yeah, so that's what I was.
That's such a real life adventure that you've had from the comfort of your own home. That's like there's so much emotion in that. You could literally.
I hate those trying to get those things something you really want, and it's on a ticketing day, whether it's a gig or a show. Or
I've never done it before. I've never pre-ordered anything.
I've done it for gigs. I've not done it for this is the first time I'm ever getting a day one console. It's the first time I've ever had the money to, quite frankly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've done it for gigs. I've hated that. I remember. When was it? It might have been 2007 when the Foo Fighters were touring. I managed to get tickets from there, and that was like a sellout.
How much did they end up costing? They were expensive.
So hard to get hold of. Like,
they were £75 a ticket in 2007. But that was they're one of the only bands that I will pay that much for.
Yeah, I've seen them at a festival, but it's never the same when they've only got like an hour.
I think I've seen them about 6 times now.
It was the tour for Echo's Patience Grace album.
Yeah.
Whatever it's called. Yeah, it was the tour for that album I saw them on. And it was just like, refresh. I've got tickets.
Yeah, but this whole week with the pre-orders for both consoles, it just really reminded me of the scalping culture and how much I hate it.
I can't stand it. It frustrates me.
People genuinely want this. But eBay stopped allowing gig tickets being sold on there. So why do they still allow pre-orders for consoles?
It's disgusting. It's purely disgusting.
But also, I mean, it's not like it's not like come launch day, that's it. There's no more consoles this year. They're going to get replenished before Christmas, aren't they? So just
if
wait.
They're smart about
If you've not got one, just wait. Don't go through eBay or places like that.
When I ended up going through that was literally my last thing. Because I was resigned to the fact that I probably won't get one. I'll wait till after Christmas to get one because I don't need an Xbox day one. It's just it's a nice thing to have. And it was literally, I tapped on it and it was like, oh, I've got one. So it was like the last possible thing I was going to try.
Yeah.
But I feel bad for people who are so stuck into the hype that they will pay over the odds from a scalper.
Yeah, and I know sometimes you think
day one.
It's their silly fault because they've got money to blow, but it's preying on people. It's preying on goodwill and stuff like that. And I just don't like it.
But the best one I've seen, I'll finish off my bit of the Nexus with this one. The best one I've seen was there was a scalper who put his listing on eBay. He bought it from Argos and he put a screenshot of the confirmation email in. Confirmation email had his postcode in. Some enterprising person took the order number that was on the receipt and the postcode, went onto the Argos live chat and said, I'm really sorry, ordered this by mistake. I meant to order the Xbox One X. Can you cancel this pre-order? And they cancelled the scalper's pre-order just based on the order number and
Victory.
the postcode. That eBay listing was then obviously taken down quite quickly, but they couldn't get that back. And I just thought that is so fucking smart.
Don't be a scalper. Just don't do it.
Yeah, it's so good. And actually, I have seen a few people like trying to beat the scalpers. There was someone post on Reddit when the new NVIDIA graphics cards came out and they sold out in like microseconds.
Yeah.
Someone wrote a bot to then put fake bids on eBay up to like thousands upon thousands of dollars, with obviously the intention of not paying for them.
Brilliant.
And just obviously the eBay can then go to the second best offer, which would probably be a human, but it's the idea of making it inconvenient for them.
I like it.
And I think it's like,
yeah,
if you make it as annoying as possible to be a scalper, eventually they'll stop.
If you're listening to this podcast and you're a scalper, just stand up and look in the mirror now. And don't be one anymore.
Yes. Right. Thank you, gentlemen. That was the Nexus. And we are now going to move on to the Big Daddy section itself. It is Modern Escapism.
Woo.
And this week we are talking science fiction. The greatest and grandest of all genres.
Some would say.
That's official as well. No, I will say that. I'm the host here. My word is canon.
Love it.
So we're talking science fiction, which is a genre very close to my heart. I adore science fiction, and it's been something that's been part of my life since I were a wee one, since I were a little lad. Science fiction has kind of followed me around my life to the point where when I went through some dark times a few years ago, I distracted myself by writing a science fiction novel.
Yes, you did.
I love science fiction films, games, CDs, like albums of science fiction music. I love this shit. It's wonderful. And we all have different connections to science fiction in whichever way that you want to define it. So I've got a few little points that we want to talk about, and we're just going to let this conversation flow, but we're going to go around the room a little bit with just the kind of the introduction questions. So I'll discuss how I got into science fiction first, and then we'll go right around everybody. So for me with science fiction, I got into science fiction, as I said, very early. Really, really young. I must have been maybe 7 or 8 when I got into science fiction, because in a rather insane case of poor parenting, my parents bought the VHS copies of series 1 and 2 of Red Dwarf and sat me and my little brother in front of them and watched them as a child.
Absolute
You said bad parenting. That's good parenting.
Not at that age.
I suppose it depends on your perspective, really. But yeah, we really, that was a big thing in my family growing up. Like we had like the official like BBC released VHSs of those 2 seasons.
Didn't they come in a lovely box as well? Or did you just have the single?
No,
series?
just the single series VHSs. Because it was because if you remember, VHSs were like 90 minutes each.
Yeah,
so
usually.
So it was 4 different videos for the 2 parts of each. It was 2 parts to each series, so there was like 4 different video cassettes.
What a show!
And then as it was going on, my parents were like recording it off the BBC on a Friday night when it was airing. So Saturday morning, it would be like, I go to my dad, says, "Can I watch Red Dwarf?" And they'd be like, "You can't watch this episode. You can watch next week's one." I remember that it was the polymorph episode in series 3 that was the first one I wasn't allowed to watch because it was excellent, but fairly horrific for a young child to watch.
So good.
So science fiction kind of got its claws into me quite early on, and I've always been interested in science and space especially. I love space. Like when I was a little kid going to the library, it was always like getting the space books.
It's the final frontier, mate.
Absolutely, I loved Star Trek as a kid and stuff like that. So it was fomented in me very early on, and it's been something that's it's followed me around, and I adore a lot of different facets of science fiction. So go on, Stig, how did you get into science fiction? Or what's at least your earliest memory of science fiction?
So I think that earliest memory I can remember is probably watching Star Trek Next Generation, like every single day. I think it was 6 o'clock in the evening, I think, on Sky One. And because
I remember that.
By the time I was old enough to kind of watch it and take it in, you were at the point where I think it was already a few seasons in, so it was just repeats for most of the stuff. So they obviously had the new series coming out every now and again, but the majority of it was just repeats, 6 o'clock every day. And I just watched that all the time with my brother and my dad.
When did it start, Next Generation?
88? 7?
And then it like carried on till like mid-90s?
93? I think it's 87 to 93. I could be wrong.
It's quite chunky though for a show, isn't it? Because
we were both wrong. It was September 1987.
No, I said 87.
All right.
No, I said 88. Noodle said 86.
Yeah, you guys were wrong.
I ain't got a clue.
I never watched quiet.
I've never watched it.
Actually, funnily enough, the day after we record this is its 23rd anniversary. 28th of September 1987 it started.
Oof.
Excellent.
Jeez. So a couple of years' time, there will be big celebrations for 25 then, won't there?
Sorry, I can't count. Not 23, 33.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Wow.
Jeez. Anyway, so getting sidetracked. Yeah, I used to watch Next Generation all the time. And then, obviously, I'd seen Star Wars, the whole Star Wars trilogy. So for me, obviously, my earliest memories of science fiction was mainly based around space and technology in space and space battles and all that kind of
distant futures and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then obviously I moved on from Next Generation to Deep Space Nine. But then we also used to watch Quantum Leap.
I love Quantum Leap.
Yeah, so we watched Quantum Leap, and I think that's about it when I was younger. I ventured more into a lot of other sci-fis when I got older.
A lot of the sci-fi when we were younger, it were quite adult, wasn't it? There wasn't that much family-friendly repeat shows that were on all the time.
No, I think Star Trek kind of covered that.
Yeah, it did. It really did, didn't it?
There's probably a few themes in there that might go over your head as a child.
Yeah.
But in general, it was enough in there to enjoy and to sit and watch with your family and enjoy it. I mean, there's other things like we've discussed this previously about how Jurassic Park is a science fiction film, but it's probably not.
Felt
like that.
Remembered as one.
It's one of my earliest memories of the cinema, going to see it. But yes, it's full on science fiction, and it's one of my favourite films. So
I thought it was a documentary. Life always finds a way.
But yeah, definitely Star Trek Next Generation is kind of my entry level.
Maybe I should
sci-fi.
watch that. Does it hold up?
Yeah, largely.
Yeah.
It's, a couple of the early seasons look a little bit ropey when you kind of boost them up on a big telly. But
because the weird thing is, I've seen like the original stuff, a lot of the original stuff. I've seen the movies, all the movies. I've seen Discovery. So it's weird that there's like a decade of Star Trek I've just not watched.
You mean most of Star Trek?
Yeah, that's what I mean. The chunk.
You missed the good stuff.
That's what I'm saying. I've been watching the crap.
Yeah, generally speaking, Next Generation is by and large entirely good.
Yeah.
DS9 is very good, but there's a couple of duff bits.
What about Voyager?
Voyager I love, but a lot of the Star Trek fans don't like.
What about Enterprise?
No,
No.
we don't talk about Enterprise.
I heard there's a few good things towards the final series. It's just a shame that the theme tune just puts me off.
What? Because it's this epic Christian ballad thing rather than.
awful.
Didn't it have the
Yeah.
guy from Quantum Leap in Enterprise?
Yes, Scott
Yeah.
Bakula is the captain.
Yes, there you go. Secular.
Doomy, what about you? When did you get into science fiction? When did you discover it?
Well, I've got a couple of older brothers that were born in like the 70s, so they were sort of brought up in like I suppose that sort of generation with Star Trek and Star Wars and things like that. So I've just sort of been around those when they were watching what they're watching, and I've just sort of always been around it really. Star Wars in particular, I can't remember. I'd been jettisoned out the airlock when Jeebus was talking about why he hated it so much, so I couldn't really chip in
Best
talking
thing for
about
you, mate.
Star
Best thing for
Wars. But it's always been. I can't remember a time when I didn't know that Darth Vader was Luke's dad. You know.
Whoa, spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
I've always known that. Like
It's like a reference that's endemic in society now, isn't it? It's such a
yeah.
I remember finding out that twist from the bloody Simpsons.
I think
Sorry.
I think I
Just
found
remind
it
me how
purely-
amazing that bit is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I found it purely like by watching the films, which not many people have. Like you said, Dooman, not many people have actually had that realization that, oh shit, that's his dad. I literally went in thinking Darth Vader had killed Anakin Skywalker. You know what I mean? I didn't know his name was Anakin for one.
on from that, I watched a lot of series. Like you mentioned, Quantum Leap. I watched that. Probably looking back, that would be quite problematic these days.
There's a lot of problematic episodes.
Definitely.
So I haven't seen Quantum Leap, but as I understand it, he's leaping from universe to universe.
Person
He's
to person.
leaping into someone else's body, right? So I'm assuming he leaps into women and does some fucking weird shit.
Yes.
He leaps in, and different races and things like that.
Yes.
So like, he'll leap into a character, and then he'll look into a mirror, and he'll see his reflection and and the person that he's leapt into.
Oh dear.
So, I mean, it's not a sinister show. Don't get me wrong.
No.
It's earnest, but of its time.
Yeah, it's just not.
It's probably one of those ones
particularly
that like thinks its heart's in the right place. but
Yes.
Probably doesn't
Its brain's not.
doesn't treat the subject as delicately as it should be.
Exactly.
Oh dear.
Yeah. I did a rewatch of it, but like I was in my early 20s when I did it, so
And also in the 90s, we had the X-Files, which I was a big fan of.
Oh,
I do love the X-Files.
That's my Star Trek. The X-Files is my thing. I was obsessed with it. I got all the magazines and everything.
Is the X-Files strictly sci-fi though? Or is that more kind of horror mystery kind of thing?
bit of
It's
both, isn't it?
sci-fi.
I think it's a bit of both, really. You know,
It's got
there's
aliens
sort
on
of horror,
theme tune.
horror in it, science
Yeah, true.
fiction.
I quite like just Monster of the Week kind of shit.
They were always the best episodes, weren't
Yeah. Yeah.
I maintain that is it Squeeze from the
they?
first
Oh
season?
God, yeah.
Terrifying.
Victor Toombs. I think it's Victor
Yeah.
Toombs.
Oh yeah, Tombs. Yeah. Oh God Almighty, that still freaks me out. Like I rewatched the X-Files a couple of years ago.
So good.
And like I was watching it on Amazon Prime, and we got to like episode 4, and just like Squeeze. Oh, do I want to?
Yeah.
I don't have any reference to the X-Files. Don't know why I never watched it, but the only one I can remember is a bog toilet troll thing. That was the only one I can remember.
Yeah, that is one.
Yeah.
Oodles, what about you? Where did you start off with science fiction?
Well, mine's more of a strange tale.
Everything with you is a strange tale.
Yeah, I've said this on a previous podcast I used to be on. As a kid, I was deathly afraid of aliens. Like, it was my fear. You know, little greys running around.
Yeah.
You know, when they play that tune from like X-Files and stuff like that.
So you never bought a packet of Space Raiders?
Oh, no, because it weren't greys then. It was Astra, the woman on Space Raiders back then. So get your facts right. but yeah, I was just definitely afraid of it. So what I did to be the big hard boy, I thought I was a man, but I was a boy. I basically dove into it to pretend I weren't scared of it. So I had alien posters. I I was always obsessed with it. I used to tell everyone I love alien stuff, but really I was afraid of it, which is so weird thinking back at it. But yeah, I had blow up aliens, I had alien posts, I just had everything. So my family always bought me like sci-fi books and sci-fi films, and do you know what I mean? They're just like,
Yeah.
he's the sci-fi guy. And really, I'm like, oh, this is awful. And I watched a film called A Fire in the Sky. I don't know if you've seen it. I was far too young to see it. I think it was a, do you know when they used to, back in America, they used to do like 2-part films. You know, like It was done as like a 2-parter. Stephen King's It.
Yeah.
It was like that, and it's called A Fire in the Sky. And then they brought it over to England as just one film. And it's about a real account of an abductee by aliens, by a spaceship. And they take him away in the spaceship, and they do awful experiments that are like a 6, 7, 8-year-old shouldn't be viewing. And there were proper little grey aliens, you know, big heads and big black eyes and just scary, awful things, little things. And like they brought him back down, and he's all burnt and stuff. You know, the typical abduction story.
Yeah.
Where they always get like side of the face, like Close Encounters of the Third Kind type thing. And it terrified me. It shook me. Like I had nightmares for weeks and stuff. And I had to go and like confess to my mother and say like, I'm actually really scared of aliens. I would just been pretending. So she went, oh, well, aliens can be nice. So why don't you watch this film called E.T. with me? I'm like, oh, E.T. I've never seen it. Obviously, this is early 90s. And that scared me as well. Do you know the bit in the car?
To be fair, there were bits of it when I saw E.T. as what might have been again 7 or 8 or something like that, and like there's a bit where Elliot first finds E.T. and he screams at him. Oh God, that put the shits at me.
Awful, it's awful, and that terrified me. And when E.T. gets drunk, I didn't know what being drunk was at that time, so that scared me as well. What's happening? Why are they dissecting frogs? Why are they? Oh, awful! It just frightened me when he's all little. He's grey and he's in that tube, and Elliot's dying and stuff. Oh, it's just absolutely shook me. And for ages, until one film came out and saved me. It saved me from that fear, and that were Men in Black. So I think it was like 97-ish, something like that, Men in Black.
Yeah, 1997 for Men in Black.
Yeah, and obviously I was getting a bit older then. I was close to becoming a teenager, and I was just like, fuck it, I'm going head in. And I came out of the cinema, like, cured. It's so weird, I was cured of it. I weren't scared of aliens anymore. And since I've always held that film in reverence, because it's like my cure film. It stopped. So I just really dove head into sci-fi then and caught up with things.
The most terrifying of all the sci-fi movies, Men in Black.
Well, yeah, as a kid, right?
What are aliens in it?
That guy is...
Edgar.
Yeah, he's like deteriorating through the film, and he's like neck's all broken. He's all like rah, rah, like that. It's like all his skin's just
Vincent D'Onofrio, and he's an incredible actor.
Yeah. His skin's just like drooping off him because he's got alien inside him. Yeah, and it's just like
it cured me.
E.T. scared you, but that cured you. Maybe he just really needed that last bit.
I was obsessed with Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, so it was perfect. And then obviously Will Smith went down this sci-fi route, the Independence Day. And it just completely just cured me of it. And since then, I'm like you, Gadget. I will just absorb that. I'm more into the alien side of sci-fi now, which is weird. It's so weird saying it. I can't believe I'm admitting all this to everyone again. But yeah, that's how I got into it. Overcoming fear.
I will say Men in Black has always had a special place in my heart because it's just one of my favourite films of all time.
I don't like the sequels.
No one likes the sequels. But it gained a new significance for me in this kind of last year since I met my partner Pip, because it was her late father's favourite film, and the two of them she has very fond memories of sitting watching it with him.
It's so good,
and like stuff like Mikey the Alien from the beginning, and being able to quote things, and we sat and watched it together last year, and it was just this most wonderful moment, like watching her. Watch this film again that has these wonderful emotional memories for her, and her being able to like rattle off all the quotes from the film better than I can, and I've seen it 1,000 times, and it has this now new emotional resonance for me, and it's almost the perfect film. And when you watch,
I think it is.
when you watch the making of it, it could have been so very different. Like the actual plot line that was there in the first place made
It was supposed to be a bit
sense,
more
and they just
sinister, wasn't it?
Yeah, and they cobbled together like from the footage that they'd found when they did the first edit and realized, fuck, none of this makes sense.
Yeah.
They just fixed it in the edit, re-recorded a bit of dialogue and some new subtitles, and that was it. And
I think they pushed the release date back as well by months and months and months.
Yeah, they did, just to fix it.
Also,
Yeah,
banging theme tune.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Really good.
Oh, God, I've now got it stuck in my head, haven't I?
Just bounce with me, just bounce with me. Now freeze.
The second one was terrible, but Nod Your Head was a great track as well.
Nod your head.
Yeah.
I used to love when Will Smith made like songs for his films.
Yeah.
It's such a 90s thing, isn't
Yeah.
it? I'm going to be in the film and I'm going to do the theme song.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how we end up with Wiki Wild Wild West.
He never did I Am Legend, though, did he? He never did a song for I Am Legend. You know what I mean? It wouldn't have worked.
No.
or Independence Day.
Yeah. It is Independence Day. I just made it for him.
So,
Well, how about You a Millionaire, Oodles?
I don't know.
Maybe that's why they turned down the role as Neo in The Matrix, because they wouldn't let him write the theme tune.
Yeah. It's Matrix time, baby. Oh, I'd have loved that.
oh God, of all the boneheaded casting decisions any actor's ever made, do I do The Matrix or do I do Wild Wild West?
Oh, Wild Wild West is appalling. It is a sci-fi film, and it's a shite one.
It is. It's also wildly racist.
It is.
There's a video that I will make sure Oodle sticks in the show notes that Lindsay Ellis does. If you've ever seen her, she's generally a film critic, book critic on YouTube. She's wonderful. She's so incisive. I love her work. But she did a video on Wild Wild West, and she goes into the kind of how problematic it is overall, and also how it is so different from its original source material in so many wrong ways. But I want to kind of dive out the conversation back to, so we can talk about Men in Black, and it's like, where does your favorite science fiction come from? Like, what is whether it's a film or it's a book or it's a video game or what have you. I mean, my answer is quick because I've already talked about this. We talked about this in the pilot. It's Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It always is for me.
Yeah.
You give me any piece of science fiction, any literary classic, any highly regarded film. You can put War of the Worlds, 2001: A Space Odyssey, and Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy in front of me. I will always pick Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy because it is just wonderful.
It is, and even the radio plays of it and stuff are fantastic. Just everything
the radio
about
plays
it.
came first, remember?
Yeah, that's what I mean. I even like the newer movie. A lot of people don't, but I liked it.
Oh, the new movie's great.
Yeah.
Is that the one with Martin Freeman? Is it?
Yeah.
Martin
I think
Freeman
he's brilliant.
plays a great Arthur Dent.
He does.
And I don't know how he managed it, but Mos Def as Ford Prefect is just perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Like he gets that, which I don't think I can't remember who played him in the TV series, but he didn't quite get the same thing, but of being a creature displaced.
Yeah.
Because if you haven't read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Ford Prefect is an alien from another world. He is cataloguing the Earth for the guide. And he has, by pure happenstance and accident, become Arthur's best friend.
Yeah.
After Arthur saved him from being run over by what he thought was the dominant species on Earth, which was a Ford Prefect.
Yes.
Which was a car in the 60s, I think.
He was waving at it.
Yeah, he was waving at it, and Arthur saved his life. But yeah, Mos Def gets this ability to be in the room and out of the room at the same time, and I've never seen an actor do it as well as that, and it's really good.
Yeah,
and then
it is really good.
And then Sam Rockwell playing Zaphod Beeblebrox is just brilliant because
he's incredible anyway. I think Sam Rockwell.
Well, Sam Rockwell hasn't done a bad thing. I don't
no,
think.
He hasn't.
He's done a lot of bad films, but he's been the best thing in bad films. The only weak link I think in that film is Zooey Deschanel as Trillian.
She's not terrible, but yeah, I know what you're saying.
She's just forgettable. But anyway, besides the point of criticizing that, I love Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It is my favorite sci-fi property, and it's something that I will enjoy until the very day I die.
So I mentioned earlier about like I've got two older brothers, and that meant the one's just turned 50, so I'm sure he won't mind me mentioning that. So he's 13 years older than me. So that meant like when I was growing up as a kid, the sort of sci-fi that he was watching was way too old for me. Like your RoboCops, Aliens, things like that. But I just wake up on a Saturday morning earlier than everybody else, go downstairs and just be the video that he'd rented from the video shop. So that'd just go in the VCR and I'd just
something
be
like
watching it.
Scanners or something.
It
Horrible.
didn't matter what it was. So, I was pretty much desensitized to all the sort of
like your style.
horror and violence of sci-fi at a pretty young age. And I remember one day putting the video in and it came on and it was Terminator 2.
Oh, yes.
And that was so good. I remember that day like so vividly, and I just sat there sort of fixed on the TV from start to finish. It was just it's one of my favorite films ever.
It draws you in, doesn't it, with the intro and the music? Ba bum bum ba bum.
It does.
And it's so good.
I'd seen Terminator, and I like that film a lot, but I just felt like this is a sequel, improved on it in every way. I think
it does.
It does.
It's one of those rare examples.
So much better. Yeah, exactly. The action was so much better. I think the characters are better. Like Sarah Connor returning, her character is like a sort of bald-headed hero. It's like one of the great sort of characters in film.
Yeah, definitely.
The relationship with John Connor, young John Connor, and the Ernie's T800.
Oh yeah,
it's a sort of bond they form together. And
so good.
It's funny because when I watched this film, I'd never seen any trailers for Terminator 2. I didn't know it existed until I put the VCR in. You know, but
no internet.
Since I've watched the trailer, and I've watched the trailer for Terminator 2 since, and there's so many spoilers in the trailer.
Yeah,
like
really?
Because
it's got the bit where Arnie's like holding John Connor with his bicep, so it means he's not a baddie.
Well, this is it. Up until the bit in the corridor in the arcade.
You think he's a baddie?
I'm thinking, it's the T800 from the first film. He's the bad guy, Ernie. And then I'm thinking Robert Patrick's character's. He's come back maybe to protect.
He's a new
John.
Kyle Reese.
Yeah, he's a new Kyle Reese. Up until that point, because you see somebody, you see Robert.
Head.
Yeah, you see Robert Patrick punch somebody at the beginning.
Yeah,
but you see it from. You don't see him actually. He just punches somebody and drops him. Obviously, now you know that he's probably knifed him.
Yeah,
he's dead. But up until that point, you might think, he's just attacked him, stole his clothes.
Yeah.
So that was like a really big twist for me that I think must have been ruined for a lot of people by watching that trailer.
Yeah, Arnie's back and he's a goodie this time.
I hate trailers that do that. Absolutely hate it. It's one of my pet peeves. Just leave it. Just give us enough.
Yeah.
To know that we want to go see it. But don't throw the spoilers and don't throw the main thing in the plot line.
They did it with Alien 3. There was like in the trailer's like everyone from Aliens is dead except Ripley. It's like, oh fuck's sake! Now we know what's happened. What a waste of a film.
So that's one of my favourites. One of my newer ones that I've got a sort of a fond attachment to now. Like I've always liked this film, but my son's really mad into this film and its sequels, and I've watched them. I must have watched these films hundreds of times in the last couple of years because of it, just going on day after day after day. And that's like the Jurassic Park films.
Oh,
First
so
one
good.
Specifically because I remember it from my childhood being great.
I like Lost World as well.
Lost World's good.
First two, after that, it's diminishing returns.
Jurassic Park 3 is one of the worst films of all time. It is so bad.
Yeah,
and
Fallen Kingdom's worse.
Yeah, it is.
It's not. It's not.
Fallen Kingdom is
no,
so
it's
bad.
not. What's Jurassic Park 3? A raptor.
It's got Pete Postlethwaite in it. It's got to be good.
A raptor can read this tank is flammable sign in Jurassic in Fallen Kingdom.
Really?
Don't start me, mate. Don't start me. I could spend a whole episode, a whole hour and a half dissecting
in Jurassic
that film.
Park 3. Jurassic Park 3, a raptor pretends to be like frozen in sort of formaldehyde or something.
Oh yeah,
there.
Bursts into life. I mean, I know they were clever, but
it's stalking. No, but it's stalking its prey, isn't it? It's not making a sound just because we can see it through the glass.
I will say, despite all the hype for it, I do think Jurassic World was fucking awful.
Oh,
the first Jurassic World
I didn't mind Jurassic World. I thought it was a bit of a.
She runs away from a T-Rex in high heels.
It gets worse.
That's impressive at anybody's standards.
Actually, Oodles, it is a fact that a man could outrun a T-Rex.
In high heels?
Oh, I don't know about IELTS, actually. Good point. I retract my previous comment.
But yeah, I've only seen Jurassic World once, but I just distinctly remember watching through it and thinking, everything that the people are doing here is incredibly fucking stupid. Like, with Jurassic Park, everything went wrong because of a mix of hubris,
yes,
on John Hammond's part,
yes,
but also the fact that Wayne Knight's character
Dennis.
Dennis was actively sabotaging things because he was trying to get away to make money.
Well, that's the only reason it went wrong, though, isn't it? Because the mole.
Well, but like no matter what they were doing to try and fix things, it was all kind of put into play because of Dennis's character.
Yeah.
Whereas with Jurassic World, like they have this whole new thing of the new exhibit being this Megalosaurus or whatever they called it. And it's like, at what point did anybody consider the idea of crossbreeding a raptor and a fucking T-Rex?
Because it's cool.
Who thought that was a good idea?
Because it's cool.
Who thought it would be
He does explain that in the
controllable?
film, that kids like more teeth and stuff like that.
Yeah, they get bored of seeing the same dinosaurs.
This is a world where dinosaurs exist.
I'm sorry, but
Yes, but this is clearly also a world where health and safety doesn't.
What child or person gets bored of going to that? How many times have you been to a zoo? I don't get bored of ever seeing a lion or a tiger.
Mate, I love it when I see a meerkat. I love seeing
tigers. Yeah, exactly. Like,
it's incredible.
I would never, ever in my life get bored of being able to go and see a T-Rex.
Ever.
Exactly. It's something that has been in that world that has been brought from extinction, that hasn't existed for millions upon millions upon millions of years. Why do you feel the need to fuck around with it like that?
Life always finds a way.
It gets worse though, doesn't it? Because Fallen Kingdom gets even worse on that premise.
Yeah, there's that sad bit as well when
they're selling them as weapons or something like that.
Yeah, that's what
the worst thing about that one is just you can hold a gun and point a laser, and the new Dino Raptor thing will attack that person. I mean, if you're close enough to point the laser at a man, just fucking shoot him. Shoot him.
Bullets are very effective. Humans are allergic to bullets.
Sorry, I mean, I love Jurassic Park. I absolutely love it. It's one of my favourite films of all time. It's endlessly quotable. The music is amazing. I do enjoy The Lost World as well. For some of the faults it has, I still think it holds up pretty well. But
I will say for 3, I do like the aviary sequence with the pterodactyl house kind of thing.
Yeah, I like that bit.
90% of the movie is a bit shit. I don't want to say it's a bad film, but it's just a bit shit throughout all of it. It's just not good enough.
Oh,
I really do like that.
Watch it now. Watch it now.
Shite. It's
shite. It's so bad.
Remember that cool bit where a raptor flies a plane, but it's just his dream.
Yeah, he turns and talks to him.
Ellen.
Oh, that bit when the firing tranquilizer darts at a Triceratops's face. It just doesn't make any sense. It's not going to work.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, in the grand scheme of things, they're very silly films. I think the books are they
completely
have a different tone to them.
Yeah, it's Crichton, isn't it? He did it.
Yeah.
It's very different. It's more along the lines of Westworld type thing.
I feel like we derailed you there a bit, Doomican. We're just like ranting about how bad the other films are.
Jurassic
Park.
No,
I'm fine as long as we agree that the first one's a masterpiece.
Oh yeah,
it is.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Perfect.
It's Spielberg's best film, in my opinion.
Jeebus, let us know what you think.
He probably hates it.
Jeebus probably hates it. Oodles, come on, what was yours? Do we have yours?
Not yet. I've got 2 films that really like the one. I just love it for its story, and another I love it for its style. So we'll go for style first. I really love Fifth Element.
Oh, I do love Fifth Element.
Everything, and I watched that by accident. It was just on BBC 2 one night.
Multipass.
And I thought, yeah. I watched it. I was like,
it's another one of those films that's eminently quotable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really is. And
like, I like
Bruce
most
Willis.
of Ruby Rod's dialogue in my head.
Oh God, Chris Tucker is so good. He is so good in that film.
I think it's one of his best roles. But I watched it and I was like, oh my God, this is like a fashion show as well as a cool sci-fi premise. Like, I think it's Luc Besson that directed it. I think it's him, French director.
It's Luc Besson who directed it. It was actually a fashion designer who did the costumes for it.
Yeah, you can tell, and it's just
Was it Jean-Paul Gaultier?
No, I don't think it was him.
Googling
I
it
think
now.
it was. It might have been actually. It's a French one probably, but it's very.
Yeah, it was Jean-Paul Gaultier.
Well, brilliant! What a boy. But yeah, the scene with the opera and stuff like that, and just like New York, and it just blew me up. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I'd never even heard of it, and I just put it, and I'm like, and ever since I watch it every year, at least once or twice. It's just good, and it's corny, and it's deliberate. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
it's like a pulpy comic book.
Yeah, and why has that world never been explored since? It baffles me.
Because if you have seen Valerian, you will realize that Luc Besson knows fuck all about how to do good sci-fi.
Yeah,
and the element was a fluke.
I have seen Valerian, and that is an absolute garbage fire. It's ridiculous, that film.
But like the fifth element, every time I watch it, I do feel like there's like a lot of stuff cut out of it because it moves along at such a pace and from scene to scene very quickly and lots of time jumps. But what you do get on the screen is there's not a bad frame in
there isn't.
Film.
It's so
every
good.
Shot is perfect. Every special effect is perfect. I love Gary Oldman as Zorg.
He's so good. He's so good when he gets pissed off and the oil's coming down his face and stuff. When the voice is talking to him. Oh my god.
Yeah. And literally, it's only like the voice of the darkness is literally the only point of the film that I can't define.
I don't think you're supposed
to. I know you're not supposed to, and that's just the one thing that pisses me off about it. It's just like, why is Zorg working with this? Because if it's supposed to end all life in the galaxy, surely that's going to end his life as well. So what is the point of? Yeah, exactly. It's at least
he's going to die like looking absolutely fabulous. Because wow,
maybe it's meant to be like a more of a mind control thing.
Yeah, potentially, but it's just an all down. It's got a bit of a Titanic edge to it as well with the cruise and stuff. It's just it goes to so many places, and Bruce Willis in it he's brilliant because he doesn't want to be there. Like notoriously, he's a terrible person in real life. You can tell he never wants to be on set of anything, and that works for Corbin Dallas. He doesn't want to be there, and it's perfect.
I like the fact that Dallas doesn't have any agency in the story because he doesn't want any agency.
Yeah,
in the story.
he didn't want to be disturbed.
Going from place to place.
Lilu literally crashed into his taxi cab. You know what I mean? It's like shit.
Almost like he's good at being the man in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, he's in another little
very
known
much like
film.
The Last Boy Scout.
Yeah. There's another film. It escapes my mind.
Yeah, I Had With a Vengeance, I think it's called.
Oh, there we got it. An hour and a half in. But yeah, I adore The Fifth Element, and the opera scene with the Plava Laguna is just beautiful. It's beautiful.
So the second, it's another film, and I've actually realised now. I think I've got an underlying obsession with fashion and not realising it, because the second film that really speaks to me and I kind of obsessed with is a little indie film called The Matrix. I don't know if you've heard of it.
It's a bit under the radar for me, I'm afraid.
Yeah, it's quite avant-garde in its delivery. Now, let me just add this before we go any further. There's only one Matrix film, in my eyes.
Yes, I've heard that.
Yeah. There's a couple of fan makes, like the Indiana Jones film. A couple of fan-made sequels, right?
Fan fiction, yeah, definitely. I'm not into that much, but yeah, the Matrix for me, it came at a time where I was trying to find my own goth identity, because it's well documented that I was a bit of a goth, and if you look at everyone in the Matrix, they're all a little bit of a goth. So it absolutely worked for me. I was like, "Ooh, I like this."
That definitely plays on that aesthetic, doesn't it? With the
definitely,
and the black, and everything.
And it just worked.
Do you remember there being a lot of trench coats around town after that film came out?
Yeah. And what do you think I did when I watched it? I went out and bought one. Coat too long for me as well. Just dragging across the puddles with my jet black hair. But yeah, it just I don't know. There was something about it. Was the first film I actually went to see, and then came out and went to see it again because I needed to see it again. Because a lot of people, The Matrix, when they were, I don't understand it. I just don't understand it. But it's actually quite simple. It's like reality is not reality. That's the simple premise of The Matrix. It is really simple.
Have you seen what the Wachowskis have put out about their intent for the film?
No.
So the Wachowskis came out as trans in the early 2000s, and they both transitioned. So they were the Wachowski brothers, now the Wachowski sisters.
Yeah.
It was only a few months ago, actually, they came out and said, well, The Matrix was actually a trans journey. The idea that Neo is Thomas Anderson, he is assigned that by the Matrix.
Yeah, but it's not his true self.
And it's about discovering who he actually is. You have Agent Smith is constantly effectively in the pilot's dead naming him by referring to him as Mr. Anderson.
It makes sense. You can see it, absolutely. But at the time...
It is...
Go on,
sorry. They're coming out saying it now because they're pointing out at the time neither of them was out as trans. And they were dealing with a lot of is it dysmorphia or dysphoria? I forget which one it is. Apologies for any trans listeners on this one, but I forget which one it is. But they were dealing with the kind of the mental aspects of being trans but not out about it, like being in the closet.
Yeah, you can absolutely see that.
Yeah, they couldn't go to a studio and say, this is a story about the trans experience.
Yeah.
So it was kind of sold to the studio as this is a science fiction story
about bullet time.
Well, yeah, but yeah, like I think I don't know if it's 100% sure that they've only spoken about it once. But I think a lot of the religious overtones in the film were kind of hammed up or kind of pushed higher up because they wouldn't have been able to sell this trans message in 1997 when they got. I think it does
have that kind of depth though when you because like people have got doctorates in the Matrix, PhDs in the Matrix now.
I did my media studies major project on the symbolism in the Matrix, and I completely missed that one.
Well, yeah, because you weren't. It's
in
more
2002,
underlying, isn't it?
In 2002, I didn't know anything about the trans community.
Of course not. No.
And it's one of those things. Like I'm mildly ashamed to say that when I first read that, I was like, no, it can't be. That doesn't sound right. That sounds like they're rewriting history. And then I've actually sat and thought about the story and the themes, and like,
it makes sense.
Oh shit, it's a trans story. There is there's an androgynous character in the film called Switch.
Yeah.
How didn't I see that?
Yeah, it's true.
It's just this wonderful reimagining, wonderful way to like re-engage with a film years after I've originally seen it, and I've seen it many times.
Yeah,
I even went to the cinema last year with Pip to see it for the 20th anniversary, and I just completely didn't see that coming. And when I saw it, and when I reread it that way, it was just like, oh my god, that's incredible.
It is a film that works on so many levels. But I've obviously I'm aware of that, and you can absolutely see it. But it also operates on other levels as well, because, the religious overtones might be ham-fisted, but they're there. They are there. It's like...
to be fair, the Matrix Revolution's religious overtones were fucking worse.
Yeah, of course. But I'm talking about the only Matrix film. The only Matrix film, the first one. The one that has an actual ending, where Neo flies off and he's Superman and he saves the world. But
to the tune of Rage Against the Machine, which is the most badass way to end a film.
Exactly. But there's also the levels of opening your eyes to society. That kind of I appreciate that about it. Like it's similar to it came out similar time to Hackers and Dark City and stuff. But I think the Matrix won in that kind of postmodern sci-fi revolution that was coming at the time. There was Equilibrium followed a few years after as well. I think the Matrix won in my opinion. I think it's just a better film.
I think where Hackers tried to do that cyberpunk thing before the Matrix did, but the Matrix got the cyberpunk thing right.
Yeah. It's more like cybergoth, isn't it? That's what I like to call it. But it's just I've clearly got an obsession with aesthetics when it comes to sci-fi. I've only just realized this little awakening in me that I'm a bit obsessed with how it looks rather than everything else. With the fifth element in the Matrix, it's obvious.
Yeah, the Matrix does sell itself a lot on its looks.
Yeah,
and it's a very stylish film. Like even if you take away like the kind of the action scenes and the kind of the kung fu and the gun fu and the stuff like that, like the actual look of everything is also very deliberate and
It's very green, isn't it, on some scenes, and very blue on the other scenes.
Yeah. When you're in the Matrix, it's green. When you're out of the Matrix, it's blue, and
it's cool.
It's a very beautiful film.
It is,
and the special effects still hold up as well. Again, a bit like Jurassic Park, the special effects still work today.
Yeah,
because God knows there was plenty of sci-fi released around that time where the special effects don't hold up.
Well, that The Matrix was like one of the films where you bought it sort of on DVD to show off your DVD player at the time. I think it was one of those films. I first got my DVD player. It's like, I want The Matrix.
I bought it on UMD to show off my PSP to everybody.
Oh, you poor fool!
I've still got it.
I do remember I had The Matrix on VHS because I didn't have a DVD player at the time. And I remember that it didn't have any trailers at the beginning of the VHS. It just had a trailer for DVD for watching The Matrix on DVD.
On DVD.
Yeah, advertising how good DVD is on a VHS.
Yeah.
But they're my picks anyway, so somebody else.
Stiggy, what do you got?
So most of my earlier I said that my start into sci-fi was TV, and I could wax lyrical about certain TV shows and TV shows that I really enjoy and love. When it comes to sci-fi, namely the Star Trek stuff, I'm a big fan of Stargate SG-1 because I think it's just really fun.
Never watched it.
Doesn't take itself too seriously. It's just a really fun sci-fi TV show.
I didn't really like the film.
I really like the film. And
isn't it Roland Emmerich? I think someone like that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a Roland Emmerich film.
Yeah,
it's still fantastic.
Not into it.
Yeah, it's good. I liked it. And again, but most of my favorite things with sci-fi is in film. But
same.
I could just sit and talk about how good sci-fi in film is and how it's so open to all different types of films. It isn't just bogged down in space or monsters or something like Jurassic Park. It's open to things like one of my favorite sci-fis of recent years is a film called Her.
Oh, Joaquin Phoenix,
Joaquin
so
Phoenix.
Good.
And the premise is like he falls in love with an artificial intelligence.
Yeah,
by Scarlett Johansson. It's basically he just falls in love with a voice and a woman who speaks to him every day via his computer.
So good.
So good. But there's things like WALL-E. I think WALL-E is a brilliant sci-fi, especially for children.
They do genuinely call that the animated Citizen Kane. I know it's a thing that's been said.
I've never heard anyone say that.
You're making shit up.
But
you can Google it.
But I'll take it because I think it's a brilliant film. It's probably one of my favourite Disney and favourite picks. It's definitely my favourite Pixar film. I think it's brilliant.
It's so good.
But after all of them, I could list off many, 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 many films. Always comes back to the Future.
Oh
yes.
Yeah.
Great shout.
That's one from my childhood that just I could watch over and over again and never get bored with. I enjoy Back to the Future 2 and 3 to an extent, but I think the first one I could just watch endlessly. I think it's it's a really fun premise. It's a perfect script. It's well acted. It's kind of a race against time as well. That's the whole aspect throughout the whole film. He's got to get this stuff done, and by a certain time, otherwise it doesn't exist. And it also, I think, one of the things it does is kind of explain the science behind it, even though it's obviously made up science. But it does it in a way to.
It's bullshit, but it works.
It's done in a way to not make the audience feel stupid.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Like
kids can watch it.
Yeah, so many science fiction films. They'll start banging on about stuff, and you could just be like, "What? Like, I don't know what you're talking about here." Like, but
Yeah, it does. It's got a really good handle on the idea of setting up the rules of the universe.
Yeah.
So like, and this was something I found when I was writing my book. That if you go straight in with jargon, it just baffles the audience.
Mm-hmm.
What you need to do is you need to set up that you don't need to explain things like never at one point does he explain what the flux capacitor actually does All it is explained is that it's important and it's key for time travel.
Yeah, that's
It
it.
runs on plutonium.
Yeah.
And then garbage.
And then garbage.
Yeah. Or that he needs to hit 88 miles an hour to make it work.
Yeah.
Those rules are set up really early on in the film. It shows you what happens when the dog's in the car, and then
Einstein.
That's it. Einstein. That's it. I was going to call him Dogbit there, but no, that's Dilbit. But you know, when he sends Einstein back 2 minutes or whatever it is, or forward 2 minutes, everything is then laid out for you that you know exactly whatever's going to go wrong. These conditions need to be made for time travel to work.
Yeah.
And there are so many science fiction films that get that wrong. They try and, but Star Trek's fucking terrible for it because they'll rattle off some science mumbo jumbo and then have someone in the background give the simile as to what that's actually going to be.
Yeah.
Or you're like using tachyons as this magical god particle that can let them
Avengers
do whatever they
Endgame
want.
does it really well, I think, recent years. Of
Yeah,
explaining.
explain time travel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
does,
Completely
but I like
debunking
how
Back
they
to the
handle
Future.
that.
It does, but then there's still, by the end of it, you still, the audiences, there's a lot of, well, how did you do that? How did Cap do this? And how did that happen? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into that really, but again, though, I think even when Doc is running around, like, frantic as he is and going, this, and this, and this, and this, it's like, you can keep up. You can understand what he means, and it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. He needs to do this because, you know, that's because.
I think a lot of that's down to Christopher Lloyd's delivery as well. He's very good at doing that frantic.
Yeah,
I didn't realise how aged up he was in the first one, Eve. I didn't realise that until I was a bit old. I'm like, Christopher Lloyd wasn't that old then.
No, when you see him now, you just think, oh, he's still
He looks
alive.
like that.
He's still alive he's like because he was playing an old man in that film.
Yeah.
Like,
I didn't realise. I was like, he's not
He
that
was
old,
like
was he?
30
Late 30s at the time or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
30 odd years ago. Maybe he's just always looked old. But it's one of those ones where like the casting's perfect. Both leads are just perfect in that role, and I think that that helps.
He wasn't originally Michael J. Fox, was it? It was what's his name?
Someone else.
Eric Stoltz, was it?
Yeah, from Pulp Fiction. Yeah, and there's footage of him doing Marty McFly, and it's not the same.
No. Obviously they went with the right choice in the end.
Absolutely.
And of course, The Power of Love is just a banging tune.
And Back in Time. Back in Time's a good one.
Johnny Be Good, the little bit.
Yeah.
There. It's that, and also just the general theme tune to Back to the Future is really good.
It's your cousin Marvin.
And it's just and it's used in the perfect moments in the film throughout the film as well. Specifically when he's running away from the bullies and stuff. From Biff
There was a band called I Fight Dragons, which is the best name for a band in the world ever. They did a cover of The Power of Love, and they had like this 4-part vocal harmony doing ba 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 ba. Like
that's
the
cool.
theme at the beginning of it. It's one thing that was that song will, even though it's like Huey Lewis and the News wrote it for one of their albums, not for the film, it will always be for Back to the Future.
Yeah, but you don't even hear that song until like later on in the film, do you? It's like it's Back in Time is the first song of the film. I think it is anyway.
He's, Marty and his band are playing it. In the
they
school.
are. Yeah, they are.
And it's Huey Lewis that goes, "You're too loud."
Yes, yeah, I remember that now. Yeah, it's so good.
So, what is it you all look for in sci-fi? Because
Clearly fashion.
Well, clearly. Like, I don't watch everything sci-fi that comes my way. There are
neither do I.
I tried Stargate SG-1 and it wasn't bad, but it kind of wasn't for me. But I really liked Stargate Universe, which was the one with Robert Carlyle that lasted 2 seasons and got cancelled because people don't know what they're talking about.
There's more than one Stargate show.
There's 3.
Yeah, there's 3 or 4.
3.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
There's Atlantis as well.
Yeah. SG-1's just fun. It's just fun. It's not serious. You don't have to be too.
Is it based on the same film? Like, is it?
It's basically it
with the Egyptian stuff.
Starts at the end of the film. Like the series
cool.
kind of starts where the film leads off. So
for me, because things started with Red Dwarf, I always kind of look for the humor in things. I like things which are science fiction, which is funny. Like Firefly spoke to me on so many levels because it was dramatic, but it was increasingly funny in places.
Yeah, you see, I've seen Serenity, but I've never watched Firefly.
Oh my! It's 14 episodes. Watch it; they're the greatest thing ever.
I really like
hate
Serenity.
Fox.
I think it's a cool film.
you're making me sad talking about Firefly. Though.
Oh, sorry.
Don't be sad that it didn't continue. Be happy that it existed in the first place because it's wonderful.
Oh.
But yeah, so I like
Futurama.
I like
That's a good one. That's funny.
Yeah, Futurama is one of my all-time favorites. I adore
so good.
Futurama so much, and because I like Futurama because it does a lot of things with your expectations. Because I remember when it first came on, everyone was expecting, I was just going to spoof a load of sci-fi things, which it does, but it's also a genuinely interesting sci-fi universe.
Yeah, it's good. It's great. I love it.
But for me, as I've gotten older, I like the smaller sci-fi, like things where. So, and this is very particular of like cyberpunk stuff. So I really like. Obviously, I love Blade Runner. I love Altered Carbon, and those are two very different sci-fi properties, but they operate in the same space where you have a singular character brought into a situation where everything is terrible. They're doing their best to make things better in whatever capacity they have, but it's very small scale. Like they're both about solving crimes in this kind of horrible dystopian future where nothing is right by our own standards, and they're just trying to bring a little bit of sanity into their own worlds, or solve a crime, or make something better for somebody. And those are the stories I like because they always shine a small spotlight on a big problem, and that's what I think science fiction does best.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can take things that are wrong with this world that you can't fix, but you can present a future where we might be able to fix them, or things have been fixed, and you can show how it's done. That's what I love about sci-fi.
You like a bit of hope, don't you, as well? You can tell. Yeah. It's nice to have a bit, because it can be, some sci-fi can be just too bleak, and I think that puts me off. I don't like. I mean,
I think that was my issue with Battlestar.
For me,
there was never no hope in Battlestar.
That is what I look for in my sci-fi. And you say like Battlestar Galactica. I love that series. It's one of my all-time favorite TV shows.
Greatest sci-fi show of all time.
Absolutely. And it is on iPlayer
100%.
at the minute, so everybody should be watching that if they haven't already seen it.
I'll watch The Expanse on Amazon Prime.
Outstanding.
I do need to start The Expanse.
Also good.
So good.
There is a bit of hope in there, I think, still in Battlestar Galactica.
The original or the remake?
The remake, definitely the remake.
Remake. When you talk Battlestar, you know it's about the remake.
I know. I've noticed. I know the fans they call the original they call the original Battlestar Galactica, but the new one just Battlestar. It's just Battlestar. It's like cooler. It's edgier. But I've only seen let me see Battlestar. I've only seen the first few episodes, and I kind of liked what I was watching. I like you said, Doom. I like the desperation and stuff, and the Cylons. Is it Cylons? I think it's
Cylons. Yeah.
Yeah, I like them as a baddie. That fascinates me. But I probably should get back into it, to be honest.
It's on iPlayer. Definitely watch it, and it's not too long. Like I think there's only 4 series. So
I like the actors that are in it as well.
So well cast. The chemistry between them is brilliant. The writing is brilliant. Like.
I probably watched more episodes than I realised, to be honest, because it's all coming back to me now.
It's so binge-worthy, that show. So intense. I love it.
You like The Expanse then, definitely. Very similar.
I started reading The Expanse on holiday, the first book, Leviathan Wakes, I think it was called.
Yeah, Leviathan Wakes. First one.
And then I left the book, so I never finished it. So I need to watch that series.
I mean, the books are genuinely better than the series, but the series is so good still.
Yeah, the only my issue with The Expanse is, and maybe this is just me, but I still can't figure out who half of them are by name. I came back to season 4 and I couldn't remember who some of the characters' names were.
Oh God, I love them all.
Do you know what I mean? It's a really good show, but it's just.
They're my crew. They're my crew. I love the guys. Oh.
Well, I'll watch that, Oodles, if you watch Battlestar Galactica.
Deal.
Ooh,
we've got a deal.
Challenge. We'll come back to this in 2 months' time and see where they're at with it.
I'll have it completed in a week, mate.
I don't know I really don't know what I look for in a sci-fi, because I just kind of love all different types of films. Like I said, sci-fi opens itself up to so many different things. And it can be used in so many different ways that I just kind of like to take it all different types in. You know
like you say, it's so broad that you could be watching something and not sort of looking at it as if it's a sci-fi, like say when you're watching Black Mirror.
Yeah, technically sci-fi. Yeah,
a lot of sci-fi in that, but you might be watching it as more of a drama or a thriller or something.
Lately, I've really got into Victorian sci-fi, like your H.G. Wells stuff. That's so good. So I like
H.G. Wells was the master.
I like the idea of them not knowing the science behind it back then. There's a fantasy twist to it, like Martians. Like we all know there's no aliens on Mars, but then it was like, ooh, it's so cool. Like the time machine, things like that. It's so good. Oh, it's like what it's going to be like in a million years in the future.
Yeah, my favorite concept in War of the Worlds is that Mars is covered in a red weed.
Yeah, it's so, and that's what they use to fumigate their atmosphere and stuff. Yeah,
and it's obviously because no one had any knowledge other than that Mars existed and it was red.
Yeah, which it technically isn't. It's more of an orange, isn't it? They say a copper colour.
Yeah, like when you read War of the Worlds or when you listen to the rather fantastic Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds, which is
so good. One of the best albums ever made.
Yeah, and you have the red weed creeping over England.
Yeah.
It's just like, that's actually a really fucking great visual. Makes no sense in science, but it's a really great visual.
I remember reading that, but I remember I was in New Zealand and I watched the film. I watched the film in Australia, The War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise. So I went and bought the book. I'm going to read this while I'm traveling around New Zealand, and it's the like because obviously it's written in 1890 or something like that. So like the language that they're using from that was
there's a lot less urgency in the book as well.
Yeah, going asking for help from the local Bobby and stuff like that. And it's just it was quite funny reading it after watching the film. Going straight
bits
into the book.
Oh, I've got to go and get my fiancée. I'll just get a bike. I'll go on my little push bike and I'll go pick her up. The forest is burning behind our house, but we'll take our time and get all the china. We need to get the fine china. Do you know what I mean? So good. Love it.
We'll round this one out because I'm aware that we've kind of rattled on about this for a long time because, again, it's such a broad subject, there is so much we could talk about with sci-fi. We could talk about this for days. But in the vein of a previous episode, what are your hot takes about sci-fi? What are the things you hate? We're looking for the worst hot takes here. And I'll start this one off to give you an indication of where I'm going. And Stig, don't be offended by this one. Because I hate time travel. Every film gets time travel fucking wrong, apart from Back to the Future. Back to the Future is the only one that I've seen that gets it right.
Terminator 2.
No, Terminator 2 gets it wrong as well. Because, so, every time travel film, apart from Back to the Future, ends up causing a paradox where they are going back in time to save something or protect something or stop something happening. They achieve that goal, and then there would be no reason for them to go back in time in the fucking first place. Back to the Future gets it right because the way that it's working with Back to the Future is Marty McFly has to do these events because the beginning of the film shows you the results of what he does in the 50s. The clock tower doesn't work. There was the big storm, that kind of thing. And that is all kind of setting up the idea that Marty is supposed to go back in time, do all that shit in the past, and then come back to the future.
So good foreshadowing.
Yeah, so that foreshadows it right, that is his linear timeline has to do that. He is not going back in time with the express object of changing anything. He does change things, but that's not the point of him going there. Therefore, when he's changed things, he has still had a reason to be back in time. And
he does a bit of necking with his mum as well.
Which is creepy.
Yeah. It should remain so for, like, I don't know. And his dad should probably resent him because he goes, "Oh, you look like that prick that your mum used to fancy when I was growing up."
Do you know what he does get wrong Back to Future with the time travelers when he goes back to the West and he's like great. It doesn't make sense that his great grandma or something looks like his girlfriend or something like that.
Yeah, it's so weird.
It doesn't like it. Yeah, but no.
At least they're Irish.
But yeah, the thing with time travel is that you're right. It's like if you prevented it from happening, then how did that thing get sent back in time in the first place to help you stop preventing that thing that happened? It's like
exactly.
Yeah.
Futurama has a brilliant episode on it where someone comes back in time from the future to stop Nixon becoming president for like the 50th time or whatever, and they run a successful campaign, and he gets elected president, and then he disappears because there was no reason for him to come back in time because Nixon had never become president.
Yes, I remember that.
In a 20-minute episode, it ruins all of time travel sci-fi.
but all people's excuse then is just like, oh, I mean, they kind of do it in Avengers as well. It's like, oh, you when you change something, it splits off to another timeline. So that basically means that the timeline that you split off into is the new good one, but you've left this timeline as a shithole.
Yeah.
So in effect, you have
fucked everything up.
You've fucked everyone else over to save you. Like,
selfish.
Yeah, you've buggered off somewhere better.
Yeah. So like, it doesn't. That's just. I always find that a bit of a cop out.
Yeah. So yeah, I really dislike time travel fiction because they all get it wrong.
My bugbear is quite different, and it's hard for me to explain it without. I don't want it to come across as bad, but I don't like the American patriotism that you get from films like America Saves the World all the time. You get that in a lot of sci-fi ones, like Independence Day, like we wouldn't have made it without the Americans. You know what I mean?
Oh god, yeah.
It's made by American studios,
but it's not always. Like, I don't mean just America as a country. Like you get it with different countries' versions of sci-fi. Like we save the world, and I don't like that. For me, like First Contact, I think it'd go a little bit different. You know, like the film, is it Arrival? The Jeremy Renner.
Yeah, great film.
I think that's the perfect First Contact type film for me. A bit more peaceful, a bit less. Like there is a threat of war in that film, isn't there? But it's not. But that's against the aliens.
That's the threat of the humans knocking the shit out of each other.
Yeah, I appreciate that more rather than we're going to get Jeff Goldblum and Will Smith to fly into the alien mothership and use an Apple Mac to import a virus. And I thought Macs didn't get viruses, but never mind. But
I think that's kind of why War of the Worlds works. I mean, the aliens are obviously stupid enough to invade a planet that's
and not where
water or something, but they fuck themselves over. It isn't
by getting
a common cold or something that kills them.
It isn't like that's Signs I'm thinking of. Sorry, isn't it? Where they invade a planet. Signs is the one where they come to Earth and
water,
to invade a world that's pretty much 80% water. I'm sorry, with War of the Worlds, obviously it's the aliens kind of something takes them out. It isn't humans. It isn't like a big.
It's hubris, isn't it?
It isn't a big hoorah. Our military took everyone out and defeated everyone. It's
well, the Martians took out Britain's best ship.
They were doomed the day they arrived, weren't they?
Yeah, basically, yeah. I like that. I prefer that. I prefer natural thing rather than we've got the best Harrier jump jets, so we're gonna win. You get what I mean, don't you? I appreciate humans winning, but there's a little. I don't know. It just puts me off. That's my little bugbear anyway.
I think. Speaking of bugs, Starship Troopers handles it really well because that's obviously that's a great criticism of American patriotism anyway.
It is. Do you want to be a citizen, and do you want to know more all the time? Yeah,
I mean, I was literally going to bring Starship Troopers into my thing of tropes as again to point out a good thing. Yeah.
I think it's a masterpiece, Starship Troopers. To be honest,
I love that film.
People don't understand what that film's trying to say.
Oh, yeah. Completely misunderstood in its time, and it's only since
completely.
So there's people shooting bugs.
My understanding of that film now is completely different from when I first watched it.
Oh yeah, mine is completely
There's even like gentrification type things where, like, have you noticed that everyone that lives in Buenos Aires is now an American? Stuff like that. There's things that you don't pick up on. And it's good. I love Starship Troopers. So good.
Yeah.
So one of my biggest tropes is scientists in sci-fis. They always just seem to get either killed off or ignored.
Yeah,
even though they're experts.
Yeah, they are the experts. I mean, it sounds like real life, but the
Topical.
yeah. Sorry, Yeah, in these films, they just seem to be like completely ignored. It's just like, well, this is what we should do, and they're just like, nope, we're going to do this instead. And then
we're going to shoot them.
The thing that the scientists said they shouldn't do turns out to be the bad thing, and it's like, or they're perceived as being weak because they're scientists and nerdy, so they get killed off really easy. And it's just like things like that.
Have you noticed that a lot of sci-fi cinema tends to be very military sci-fi?
Yeah,
and it's very focused around the action of it.
Yeah,
it really is. That's what I was trying to get across as well. It's like, if aliens came, right, I wouldn't be going to a colonel. What do? I'd be going to the scientists, the astrologists, astronomers, or whatever, and going, what do we do?
But the military would have their hands in it massively.
I'd rather speak to a language expert if an alien came than, do you know what I mean, than a corporal in the army with a desert eagle.
That's why Arrival is one of my is a superb sci-fi film because it's the science of it. It's these creatures have come in. How do we speak to them?
Yeah,
but the military's version is how do we?
How
do we attack them before they attack us?
We need to have contingency plans. It's like, look, if they're better than us, we deserve it. Do you know what I mean?
They've travelled halfway across a galaxy that's billions upon trillions of miles wide. Yeah. If they want to kill us,
we deserve it.
They can do it.
exactly. Independence Day does that. They come and they've come to exterminate humans.
And they go, no peace. When he's got that tentacle.
Arrival. They haven't. They've come to share something.
Come to warn us, haven't they?
Yeah, but they're viewed as a threat before we even understand them, because scientists aren't given the time to actually do what they're good at,
and they don't look like us. That's one of the things as well. It's like, look, the aliens in Arrival, they're the oddest things I've ever seen.
I love their design. I think it's wonderful that they're not humanoid.
Yeah, they're not anything.
That was one of my tropes. I had a list of them. One of them was like, everyone speaks and acts like humans.
Yeah. Well, that's because it's easier to put an actor in a suit.
Yeah.
Going off the look of something, my trope is actually sort of the shock value behind aliens and why everyone's so stunned that they look weird. And I just think, well, yeah, fair enough, they do look strange, but we've got things on this planet that look far more bizarre than anything you could create that you could imagine. I think an alien landing on this planet would be it'd be landing there going, oh God, get the fuck off this planet. Look at that thing there, how long's its neck? The state of that.
Why is this creature just full of spikes? It's just a hedgehog. Yeah, but look at it. What's the point?
You promised me creatures that looked slightly like us, and I've got that thing there. Look at it.
I think an alien would be absolutely terrified of a jellyfish, like everyone else. Like, what is that?
Yeah, you do get that so much in sci-fi. Like the one that jumps to mind when someone brings that up is like Mass Effect. Video game series where it's like all the aliens are basically humans but with blue heads. Like it's basically it's just like the heads are interchangeable, but they're all kind of roughly humanoid.
Or they might have two antennae or something like that as well.
The only show I can think of that covers why that happens, and obviously when Star Trek came around in the 60s, the reason aliens had to look like that
costumes, wasn't it?
Costumes, because they didn't have the technology to do it. Again, with the Next Generation and kind of Deep Space Nine, prosthetics came in to make them look more different. Ferengis and Klingons and Cardassians.
There's an actual creatures called Cardassians.
Cardassians, yeah.
That's incredible.
Which is why when Kim Kardashian became a thing, I was sat there going, well, from Star Trek.
Yeah.
She's just got a H. They've got H's in theirs rather than Cardassians.
But but there is a point in Star Trek Next Generation why they touch on why everyone looks like humanoids. Why everyone is
it to do with gravity?
No. There's a point of where it kind of. I'm not remembering it fully, but I think it touches on like the birth of the universe.
And
so everyone's kind of birthed from a humanoid,
the same origin.
Scientifically, as they've evolved on their own planets, they've developed ridges in their heads, pointy ears,
isolation, and stuff like that.
Stuff like that. Yeah. So that does touch on it. So they get around
it's
it.
It's bollocks, though, isn't it?
But sci-fi is really.
It's not bollocks. It's fiction.
That's true.
But it works for that. But yeah, like you say, like if it doesn't touch on it, it's just like, why is everyone like?
Yeah.
And again, Star Trek also touches on why everyone can speak to each other and why we hear them in English because of universal translators.
The badges are all translators.
They all have translators, and even like the Ferengi in Deep Space Nine, they've got these things that wrap around their head. And when they lose them, they can't understand anything other than Ferengi.
Wow.
Star Trek does do a lot to try and address some of these tropes.
I need to start watching Star Trek, don't I?
Yeah.
I really do.
You do actually. You definitely watched the 90s series.
Yeah, you watched the rubbish Star Trek.
I did
watch it after Battlestar Galactica.
Oh yeah, and that's my homework. That's different. I always do my homework. I'm a good boy.
Okay, so yeah, that kind of wraps all that up. We've talked about this at length, and we could talk about this a lot more. This seems to be a running thread with us. To be fair, we could we have these main subjects that we could talk about forever because we're so passionate about them. But we're going to kind of bring it back to reality, bring it back down to earth here, and we are going to get into the Inquisition, which Oodles is taking care of this week. Yeah, it felt like an important enough name that I needed to go deep voice.
Ooh. Almost sultry and quite sexy.
Yeah, well,
I've got tingles.
It does also stem from the fact that my name is Gadget, and one of my favorite things to do as a child was do the "I'll get you next time, Gadget." Inspector Gadget. Yes, we're going to do the Inquisition, and Oodles is looking after it this time. So, what have people got to say about science fiction?
Well, this is fascinating to me because, as we have discussed, everyone is quite a subjective topic. So we put the following out on Twitter and got some amazing feedback on there and via email as well. We asked, what was your first experience with science fiction? What are your favourite sci-fi movies, books, graphic novels and games? What year will we see flying cars? As well as that, we asked you just for your general commentary on the subject, like we have a little bit of a free-form conversation. So the first bit of information I got here is from Christopher Love at Deadbeat Punk. He emailed us. He's put, salutations, my postmodern escape micasts. So that was difficult to read, actually. Escape micasts. I had to scratch my head at this one. I couldn't remember a catalyst and sparked a relationship with sci-fi. Although not my favourite genre, I certainly have a lot of time for it. Fifth Element, good boy, is one of those movies I could watch on repeat. Star Wars, of course, only repressed perverts could dislike that series. God damn it, we've got one. Cowboy Bebop in my teenage years with a soundtrack forever etched into my heart. Of course, Firefly has to get a shout out. I recently started reading the Expanse series. He's got good taste, this guy. As I refuse to watch something before reading the source material, that makes sense as well. He's also put, my first sci-fi love, and correct me if I am wrong, I think it is sci-fi, was Ghostbusters. I'd say it's paranormal sci-fi, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we'll allow that one.
Yeah. Love the movies to death. Snort. Because of the pun. Literally wore out both VHS tapes for the original and sequel, though I am told I would never watch the sequel past the scene with the slime-possessed bathtub, so I must have only worn out 3/4 of that tape. I loved it for the theme tune, Ectomobile, and special effects as a child. Rewatching it as a semi-adult, I realised there was also a fantastic underdog comedy attached to these previous qualities. One of few movies that I have enjoyed more as an adult than I did as a child. I still don't like the portion with the pink slime in the bath, but I think I could beat it up if necessary now. He also goes on to say, yes, I did have action figures, although it certainly set me down a path of urban fantasy, a genre which remains a constant staple in my lineup of novels. Please do an urban fantasy episode soon. Harry Dresden is the dog's bollocks. I like that. Was Ghostbusters science fiction? I don't care. Love it. Watching the cartoon at the moment. Keep up the great work. That's from Deadbeat Punk. An absolute novel he sent us there.
He did.
But
He has.
What was Slimer the ghost of?
Some awful
He was
glutton.
just a ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some dodgy ghosts in later, isn't there? So
I used to love that bit with Slimer and he's eating and it's all just dropping out of him.
He says one
So
thing.
good.
I just wondered what you guys were. He said that Ghostbusters is one of those films that he prefers now, enjoys more as an adult than he did as a child. Does anyone else have a sci-fi film like that, or a TV show? Or something?
Ghostbusters is one of those.
I
Gremlins
enjoyed-
is one as well.
I agree with Ghostbusters on that one.
Yeah. I think we said Star Trek Troopers. Obviously, we understand it a bit more now
definitely.
as adults than a teenage boys. But just wonder if there's anything that you kind of you enjoyed as a child, but now it's a bit, you see it.
Yeah, if anyone else did that's listening, let us know. Absolutely.
I think one for me would be Akira.
I
did like that when I
watched it as a kid.
I liked it as a kid, but as an adult, it's so much better.
It is. Blade Runner did that with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the same vein for me was Ghost in the Shell. Like, I really enjoyed it as a teenager when I saw it, but I enjoy it much more as an adult now.
I still don't really like Ghost in the Shell. I don't hate it.
Me neither. I'm just not
that into it. But yeah, we'll continue with this because there's quite a lot to read.
Sorry.
At Little Lolly 2 Scoops. Don't never apologise. At Little Lolly 2 1. Can't remember my first sci-fi film, but my fave is Doctor Who. We hadn't spoke about Doctor Who. I do like Doctor Who. Being absolutely terrified of Daleks as a child, and then with the new era, watching the first episode where you meet the Weeping Angels and the Waters of Mars episodes give me them same goosebumps. Yeah, the Weeping Angels. Ooh.
That was such a good episode. I love the Weeping Angels episode because of how expertly it's put together, and the fact the Doctor is barely in it.
He's only in it at the end, isn't he?
Yeah, because it's when he's trapped without the TARDIS. And he's basically he's worked out the script of what he has to say to this woman in this conversation.
Yeah,
and recorded it on video.
So good.
Yeah, it was so well put together.
She's also put best sci-fi musical, The Rocky Horror Picture Show. Come at me, Gadget. So you've had some alterations about that, then I see.
Well. Okay, so I have seen Rocky Horror Picture Show precisely once in my life.
It's so good.
I saw it at a party where I didn't want to see it. It was just kind of thrust upon us by drunken people. I was designated driver. I was having a miserable time. I didn't enjoy the film. I don't remember it being a science fiction movie, but I'm willing to be wrong about this.
It's called The Time Warp. It's science fiction double features with the first song, I think. It's got aliens at the end. It's Frankenstein. It's sexy.
I've never seen it. It's on one.
I'm willing to be wrong about it, but I really disliked it when I saw it.
It's about aliens. Sneaky at I Am Sneaky. I had to live at my uncle's for a few months when I was 10 years old. My uncle had an extensive VHS collection. One day he passed me a copy of Tron. Good film.
Yes.
Tron Legacy is good as well. From that day on, I was hooked. It is good. I may be a 41-year-old lager drinking Geordie builder, but inside I'm just a kid who loves space and aliens. Oh, what a beautiful thing. Seriously, Tron Legacy is good. Watch it again.
No, the soundtrack is amazing.
Not on your life, Oodles. Not on your life.
It's good.
It's a bad film. It's a bad film.
I'll fight you. Right.
I've got the weight advantage on you.
My mortal nemesis, Monkey at Monk's Boy. Damn that monkey. My first sci-fi experience was The Cat from Outer Space. Oh my god, that's just given me so much nostalgia. It was my favourite movie as a small child. As I grew up, I found Hitchhiker's Guide and Red Dwarf, then finally Doctor Who. Keep your Trek Wars. I got all the good sci-fi I need, although slide in Warehouse 13 and it's golden. I don't know what Warehouse 13 is. I thought that's a lager, isn't it?
No, it was...
Hop House 13, isn't it?
I don't know.
It was so with Raiders of the Lost Ark, you've got the warehouse at the end where everything.
Top Men. Where top men were.
Yeah. It's the kind of the idea is like if you had a warehouse like that of all the fucking strange shit that the world wasn't allowed to see.
Oh,
what's in there? And it ran for about 5 seasons. It's of that quality style of like, do you remember Leverage and stuff like that?
Yeah,
that came out kind of the mid 2000s. It's
what about Alias? Kind of is it like Alias?
Not quite as teen dark, but yeah, kind of.
Right. I like that
thing. But it's Warehouse 13 is pretty good. I really enjoyed it.
It's been recommended by a monkey though, so I'm not going to watch it. I'm joking. I'll try. The Real Rider at Rider_555. My parents had a Betamax with a huge catalogue of films, and I remember the first sci-fi films I probably saw were The Last Starfighter, banger, and The Thing, banger, which traumatized me. But I still think it's my favourite sci-fi to date. Big shout out to Alien and Blade Runner 2049 also. Blade Runner 2049 is better than the first one. I've said this before, haven't I? It's so much better. Next is Louise Hilnovensky. Sorry, I've absolutely butchered your name. at Louise Hilnovsky. I'm so sorry. Hilnovsky. Quantum Leap, Back to the Future, E.T., Red Dwarf, Star Wars. I'm an 80s child, clearly. Yeah.
Yes, she definitely is.
I cannot argue with them. I mean, apart from Quantum Leap, maybe nowadays. Jill Chapman really good theme tune. Jill Chapman at Jill Chapman. I remember watching Total Recall and being amazed at the idea of colonies on Mars, then being traumatized by the guy getting sucked outside and having his eyeballs explode out of his head. Really put me off space travel. It's when he goes, love that bit. Love that. Love it.
Everyone either loves that bit or hates it.
I just love Total Recall. Not the remake, though. Don't like that at all.
Definitely not.
John Cheetham at John Cheetham 1. First experience with science fiction, probably reading Michael Crichton novels as a kid. Then the Star Wars remastered coming out in the late 90s. Yeah, that were a big impact for me. Sci-fi remains one of my favourite genres of media, both as an aesthetic and a mechanism for discussing the human condition. See, he's into aesthetics like I am. Fashionistas, that's what me and John are. There are few genres that provide such scope for imagery and invention. Recent films like Arrival and Annihilation. Oh, I forgot about Annihilation. Love that. Boasting amazing ideas and visuals. Blade Runner 2049, a feast for the senses.
Absolutely agreed. And I can't wait for Dune.
Oh, I know. It looks so good. If anybody wants a recommendation, then I implore you to read Rejoice, A Knife to the Heart, which is a thoughtful first encounter novel by the excellent Stephen Erickson of high fantasy doorstopper fame.
I shall add that to the list.
So we've got Rob Frodsham at Bob Frod. I love sci-fi on film and TV, but really not keen on books. However, one book I have liked was Children of Time, recommended highly. So many films/TV to like, even away from the Titan franchises. Event Horizon, 12 Monkeys, Sunshine, Moon, Mute, Inception and Interstellar. Now, I don't really like Interstellar, but he's mentioned Sunshine, which is one of my favourites as well.
Moon is incredible.
Moon's good, yeah. I've seen Moon. Also, some great recent ones like Arrival and Annihilation. TV also produced loads of sterling efforts, but surely the best is Battlestar Galactica.
Yes.
One of the greats.
Yes.
Also, Red Dwarf, Black Mirror, Devs, and all hail Rick and Morty. Also, childhood classics Flash Gordon and Krull. Rick and Morty.
I keep forgetting about Rick and Morty as sci-fi, and it's actually pretty good sci-fi.
I like Rick and Morty, but not for the sci. I like the. Yeah, I like just the daftness of it more than the sci-fi edge to it. But yeah, it's basically Back to the Future on acid, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's dimension hopping rather than time hopping, which I think is a smarter idea than them doing time travel.
Yeah,
because it gives them more scope to be fucking weird and creative.
Yeah, especially the what's the one with the Cronenberg episode? Love that.
Yeah,
love that. Low Stock Gamer at Low Stock Gamer. My first experience has to have been Tom Baker's Doctor Who. Also watching Blake 7 and being fascinated by their ship, Liberator. Film-wise, then, my earliest memories were watching Star Wars when I'd broken my arm at my mate's house. It was the only thing that stopped me crying. Oh, that's so cool.
Should you have not gone to the hospital?
Well, I'm sure he will have done.
Star Wars.
I'm sure he will have done. And finally, Wayne Hur at Last Ginger, Star Wars and Close Encounters in the same day back in 77-78 at Ipswich Odeon.
That's a hell of a day.
I know. I was 4 and it was amazing. I was probably watching Space 1999 before that. Yes, I'm old. But
yes, you are.
Was the Inquisition. Thank you,
marvelous
everybody. That was an absolutely massive edition of the Inquisition, and I read it a bit faster than I normally would. But that was... I appreciate everyone that's spent the time to go back in time with us on that one. Oof.
Yeah. So, thank you all for writing in and letting us know what you thought about Sci-Fi. If you actually have any feedback on this one and want to kind of speak to what we've just spoken about, well, Stig's going to tell you exactly how to do that, aren't you, Stig?
Yeah, so we have a number of methods that you can get in touch with us on. The first is Twitter. If you want to find us there, it's at Modern Escapism. If you want to email us, you can do so at modernescapismpod@gmail.com. We have a website, which is modern-escapism.buzzsprout.com. And on that website, you can find a link to our Discord. And we'd love people to come in and join. We already have a nice little community growing there. And we discuss all kinds of stuff in there. We have just general chat. But if you want to discuss TV and film, games, food, books, music, we have everything going on in there. So if you fancy joining on the chat, we're there every day. Come and join us. We are also streaming on Twitch at twitch.tv/modernescapism. We have 2 streams going on this week. On Friday night, Biggie is away, so Oodles is going to be streaming Dark Souls 3. Now, he says he has something special in mind for us, so if you check out Twitter, you'll be able to find out what that is. And then on Wednesday the 7th at 8:30/9 o'clock, we're going to do a full squad Among Us stream. So all of us are going to be on, and we're going to be playing the big Twitch game that's taken off massively the last couple of months, and that's Among Us. Come and watch us because it is a brilliant laugh. It is so much fun.
I'm looking forward to this.
And finally, leave us those 5-star reviews. Head over to Apple Podcasts. We appreciate the 5-star reviews. We only want 5 stars because we think we're worth it. So yeah, 5-star reviews, please.
We're not going to be able to build the Death Star on anything less than 5-star reviews, let's be fair. Let's be brutal about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. That's how you can get in touch with us.
Marvellous. Thank you very much for that, Stig. So, all that remains to be said is we're at the end here, and this has been a rather epic journey, quite frankly. One of the longest recordings we've done to date, in fact.
17 hours.
Yeah. Oodles just doesn't shut up. Honestly, the man goes on. So, all that remains to be said is thank you very much for joining us this evening. We will be back next week. We will be back every week. You cannot get rid of us. But,
you can have a good go.
I mean, you can try, but it's not going to work.
It's futile.
So, thank you, Oodles, for joining us.
You're more than welcome, Captain.
Thank you, Stig.
Live long and prosper.
And thank you, Doomican.
Thank you very much.
I have been Gadget, and I am going to leave you off with a quote from my favourite science fiction TV series ever. I have a question. A sensible question. A question that will test the limits of your IQ and stretch the sinews of your knowledge to bursting point. The question is this. Given that God is infinite, and that the universe is also infinite, would anybody like any toast?
Cold outside, there's no sign of atmosphere. Let me fly in the sky. In the sun. Dim, 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 dim.